Bai Shishir instantly sent Lu Yunchang flying. The two of them had exchanged blows before this. Back then, even while holding back, Bai Shishir had managed to force Lu Yunchang to flee miserably. Now that she no longer had any misgivings, Lu Yunchang was instantly injured and stars spun in his eyes. He almost coughed up blood. "Kill her together!" Lu Yunchang roared. At the same time, runes lit up all over him, and the earth shook. Earth energy poured toward him. Just as he prepared to unleash one of his ultimate moves, his expression suddenly changed. The same was true for Zhao Wuzheng, Xie Tianyu, Zhen Meilian, and Lu Zihao. The plates on their waists were all flashing rapidly. That was a distress signal, and it meant that their disciples were currently facing a terrifying attack, and the situation was extremely grave. "You!" Zhao Wuzheng stared in shock and fury at the pleased Long Chen. "You wanted to trap us like turtles. I suppose you didn't expect to become the trapped turtles instead," said Long Chen. Bai Xiaola had made his move. The hundreds of thousands of the High Firmament Academy's disciples were wiping out the disciples of the five powers left to guard the way back. After Zhao Wuzheng found the pathway to this place, to save time, all their disciples also rushed in and probed the multiple forks in order to find Bai Shishir as fast as possible, as well as to find any treasures left behind. With the five powers gathered here along with the supreme assassin of the Blood Kill Hall, they had long since viewed Long Chen and Bai Shishir as trapped prey. Hence, they had only left a few thousand disciples at the entrance of the pathway. With over 500,000 disciples, Bai Xiaola's side instantly wiped the guards out. They then entered the pathway, wreaking havoc on their disciples. With Bai Xiaola's spatial energy, he was able to clearly sense the positions of his enemies, so that cave system became his hunting ground. Moreover, since the exit was blocked, there was nowhere for them to run. Suddenly, screams rang out from this side as well. The Heaven Female Alliance's disciples, as well as Mu Qingyun and Luo Bing's people charged out and into the passageway. "Don't let them escape!" The five powers experts were startled. Without hesitation, they charged toward the exit. If these people managed to reach the exit, wouldn't all their disciples within the cave system be surrounded? Just as they passed through the exit, a giant golden ball exploded, sealing the exit. It unleashed countless roots that sank into the earth, completely sealing the path. The five powers experts were startled. This golden ball was clearly Bai Shishir's technique. It seemed that everything had been planned. With the exit sealed, a relaxed smile appeared on Long Chen's face. Just at that moment, as quick as lightning, Zhao Wuzheng unleashed a punch at Long Chen. Zhao Wuzheng hated Long Chen to the bone. He, the peerless heavenly genius of the Golden Bell Gate, had actually drunk another person's piss. That shame could not be permitted to spread outside. Right now, the only thing they could do was kill everyone here to cover up that shame. Long Chen smiled with his teeth. "It seems that the divine elixir is effective. Even your face is turning yellow. Die!" Zhao Wuzheng roared furiously. It was as if all his hatred was concentrated within his fist. Long Chen also unleashed a fist, and specks of light appeared on it. They were like stars twinkling. His entire arm glowed like a starry dragon. Boom! Their two fists collided, causing the entire palace to shake. As a result, the roof began to fall apart, and giant pieces of it fell. Astral winds erupted explosively from their two fists, like blades tearing apart the ground around them. "Last time I let you escape. This time, I'll blast you apart." A vein throbbed on Zhao Wuzheng's forehead. At this moment, the armor covering his fist suddenly exploded and an immense power soared rapidly. Following that, people were shocked to find that the blood vessels of Zhao Wuzheng's arms were swelling. His arms grew thicker and thicker, while those vessels were like serpents wriggling beneath his skin. As his power climbed, the palace shuddered even more dangerously. More and more pieces of the roof fell. At the same time, the experts of the five powers that had entered this room were buffeted by the astral winds. They were forced to hide behind those giant chunks of rock. This was the divine palace of the Starry River sect, and it was built using the best immortal materials. Although the formation had long since sucked away their divine essence, their weight and hardness were still shocking. Perhaps a fist-sized chunk of rock could weigh thousands of tons. As giant chunks fell like meteorites, these disciples were forced to flee from their cover, only to be buffeted by the astral winds. Some were killed in the resulting chaos. Long Chen and Zhao Wuzheng's fight continued. Meanwhile, the others grew hesitant when they saw this. Their original plan had been to target Bai Shishir together. But if they joined in as well, the chaos destroying the palace would guarantee that the hundreds of thousands of disciples that they had brought with them into this room would perish. These people were their elites. Some were their family members, so they could not care about them. Slut, is your High Firmament Academy only capable of playing sinister schemes? Demanded the Silver Moon City's Zhen Meiyan. The instant Zhen Meiyan saw Bai Shishir, she was filled with jealousy. Compared to Bai Shishir, she was like a toad. Everything had clearly been planned by Bai Shishir and Long Chen. While the two of them drew everyone else's attention, the other faked pretending to prepare for battle, only to suddenly charge through the exit and seal it behind them. Now all the disciples that the five powers had brought were trapped here. Even Zhao Wuzheng and the others would need some time to break Bai Shishir's seal. Furthermore, Bai Shishir and Long Chen wouldn't just wait for them to break it. If they wanted to do so, they had to stop the two of them first. However, once they unleashed their full power, this palace would become a land of death. Other than a few of them, the others would be killed. This scheme was truly sinister. Normally, Bai Shishir would immediately attack Zhen Meiyan, but today, her mood was particularly good. Rather than getting angry, she felt a trace of sympathy. She gained an even deeper understanding of Long Chen's sinister schemes. Despite seeming thoughtless, any random move from him could con people to death. Slut, why aren't you speaking? Do you know that you're shameful and thus have no words? Raged Zhen Meiyan. Bai Shishir shook her head. Someone who has drunk the piss of men isn't qualified to speak to me. You. Zhen Meiyan's face contorted, and a venomous light appeared in her eyes. She then reached out behind her. Boom. Just at this moment, the fiercest astral winds so far shook the entire palace. Even Bai Shishir and the others were blown back. As for the other disciples of the five powers, quite a few were directly killed. When Bai Shishir was forced to retreat, out of nowhere, she suddenly slashed her golden sword behind her. A figure was cut in two, and that was the Bloodkill Hall's expert. He was completely shocked. With him hidden in space, no one should have been able to sense him. Not giving him any chance, Bai Shishir's sword unleashed an explosion of golden light, cutting him into countless bloody pieces. Ah, well done. Now that this fellow is dead, there are no longer any misgivings. We can fight freely. Long Chen suddenly raised his head and unleashed a roar. His hair then fluttered madly, and silver scales covered his entire body. As the stars within those scales revolved, an aura that caused the 9 heavens to shake climbed. Scales covered Long Chen's entire body. A star shone in every scale, and every star had a flame burning on top of it. Right now, divine light filled the palace, and heaven and earth rumbled. What terrifying divine flame power! Bai Shishir stared in shock at Long Chen. She had never seen or even heard of someone's divine flame energy igniting from the surface of their body. After all, normal cultivators had their divine flame in their dantian. Its power was unleashed from the inside to guarantee that it didn't simply leak and dissipate in the outside world. If it was unleashed outside the body, the majority of that power would simply dissipate back into heaven and earth with no use at all. Boom. The one opposing Long Chen, Zhao Wuzheng, was forced further and further back by this overwhelming power. Moreover, the entire palace began to crack, and it spread further and further. As Long Chen's explosive power ran rampant, the palace began to swell. No! The experts of the 5 powers inside the palace were horrified. Long Chen's aura was constantly rising, and they felt like they were crushed by that power. They were pressed against the stone walls, unable to move. The immense power was like a giant's foot pressing down on the bodies of ants. Those experts screamed in terror but were unable to change their fates. They were then crushed to bits. Only a few of the stronger ones were still able to persevere, but it didn't seem like they could last much longer. Zhao Wuzheng, Xie Tianyu, Chu Yang, and the others were shocked. Long Chen's power far exceeded their expectations. As for their side, that terrifying assassin had been easily dispatched by Shi. They no longer knew what to do. It had to be known that as long as the assassin was present, they could easily avoid being killed by Shi. His presence would be a constant worry for her. However, their plan had been seen through by Long Chen. He had also recognized the assassin to be the greatest threat amongst them. Whether it was Long Chen or Shi, if they had to focus all their power on their enemies, then a quick assassination attempt could easily give them a serious injury or even directly kill them. If they had to be on guard against the assassin, then they couldn't focus all their power fighting the others. Facing so many powerful experts, they would definitely be at a great disadvantage. That was why the assassin was Long Chen's first priority. When Long Chen had given them his divine elixir, the medicinal powder he had used didn't contain poison. Instead, it would make a person unconcealable. It could be considered a mark. He had told Shi about this special mark. That way, she could accurately tell where that assassin was. That assassin had hidden himself back within space after Long Chen revealed himself. However, that pitiful fellow was unaware that every single one of his movements was under Shi's gaze. His original goal had been to kill Shi, but after drinking the divine elixir, his rage made him change his target to Long Chen. Hence, when Long Chen was competing in terms of power with Zhao Wuzheng, he intentionally gave the assassin a good chance. He unleashed an explosive power that blew back Shi and the others. When Shi was blown back right near him, with such a good opportunity, he immediately slipped his way over to her. However, just as that thought formed, Shi's sword cut him in two. This pitiful assassin, a supreme expert, didn't even have a chance to attack or even report his name. He was killed like some random passerby. Just how sullen must he feel? Without that assassin, if they wanted to kill Long Chen and Shi, they could only use real power. However, Long Chen's full power was unleashing a chi wave that made it impossible for them to even approach him. As for their other disciples, they were being crushed. If the 5 of them added in their full power as well, other than them, everyone else in this room would be crushed to death. We can't continue like this. We must unleash our full power and kill Shi and Long Chen as fast as possible. The people within the cave system are being killed by them. Are you planning on saving these people here, or the millions of people inside the cave system? Think wisely, shouted Chu Yang. They had brought a few 100,000 people into the palace, but only 80,000 of them were still holding on. But in the cave system, millions of disciples were sending them distress signals. We can't care so much. Slaughter them. We can't be led by the nose by them. Zhao Wuzheng clenched his teeth and charged forward. His blood chi fully ignited, forming a mist of blood around him. An angry roar resounded throughout the palace. It was like an ancient beast had awakened. The heavy pressure emitted by Zhao Wuzheng instantly multiplied. As a result, the instant he clashed with Long Chen, the other disciples of the 5 powers despaired. Under both of their pressures, tens of thousands of them instantly exploded. Long Chen, face your death. This space was too small, and these disciples had nowhere to go. Amongst the disciples that were just flattened were some of Zhao Wuzheng's relatives as well as his most trusted subordinates. But he couldn't protect them, so he could only place all this hatred on Long Chen. An ear-piercing sound wave exploded. It was like a divine hammer had just smashed into Long Chen. Against just you? Long Chen sneered. His entire body shone as if he was protected by astral battle armor. With the dragon scales, he was now already capable of controlling the divine flames of his stars. However, contrary to others, a majority of his power leaked through the air. That was not a matter of control. That was intentionally done because even with his dragon scales, he couldn't contain the full power of his 108,000 astral stars. He had to waste a portion to guarantee that he wouldn't be injured himself. Else, if that power was locked within him, he was worried that his own body would explode. Despite that, he could clearly feel their endless power. At this moment, he unleashed a powerful punch, his fist covered with astral light. Even space collapsed in front of this punch. Boom! Space shattered from the immense power, and the palace collapsed. Dust and smoke erupted, even the very earth was torn apart. Bai Shishi, Xie Tianyu, Chu Yang, Lu Yunchang, Jin Meilian, and Lu Zihao's figures shot out of the dust. Chu Yang and the others were shocked. As for Bai Shishi, she was pleasantly surprised. She hadn't expected Long Chen to be so powerful. The pressure that she was under lightened a great deal now. The two of them together were enough to fight the six of them. Haha. Long Chen stood in the air, laughing. Astral light shone from his whole body, and he was like a celestial god of war. I've been stifled for a long time, but I can finally vent. Today, I'll use your blood to write the section of Boss Long San's rise. The emotions that Long Chen had been suppressing for so long erupted along with his power. The feeling of having power but not being able to unleash it was stifling. It couldn't be described with words. Now that he had gained an insight from the Starry River Sage, he was using his dragon scales as his buffer. A portion of his power dissipated outside, while a portion stayed inside. Now he was finally capable of fighting with the power of the divine flame realm. Shameless boasting. You're only fit to carry my shoes. Zhao Wuzheng roared. As the palace collapsed, the disciples inside were directly killed. Hence, he no longer had any misgivings. With a beast-like roar, he charged at Long Chen. You're only fit to drink my piss, said Long Chen disdainfully. He was still immersed in the beautiful feeling of controlling the power of his stars. Fuck you! Zhao Wuzheng let out a string of curses, and his face contorted with rage. So many veins popped on his forehead that his comrades were worried that his head might suddenly explode. Zhao Wuzheng's beast-like roar caused a giant illusory image to appear behind him. It was unclear, but it was filled with the aura of an ancient desolate beast. That wild bloodline power caused heaven and earth to change color. Zhao Wuzheng then unleashed a punch. In that instant, the illusory image vanished, seemingly sucked into his fist. Even before his fist landed, the earth already collapsed. This was an exceedingly ancient divine ability. Let me tell you, Boss Long San has always been fond of teaching people who think that they are very strong just what true power is. With a bright light in his eyes, Long Chen's own astral power poured into his fist. The light coming from his body was like a sun. It was blinding. Boom. Within that blinding light, a giant explosion occurred. One figure was then sent flying, smashing deep into the ground. Cracks spread throughout the land as far as they could see. You dare to challenge Boss Long San? Do you think that you're qualified? Up in the sky, Long Chen was surrounded by revolving stars. Like a war god, the sight of him shook people's hearts. Even Bai Shishi was shocked. The current Long Chen was like a completely different person to her. It was like a devil god had torn off his disguise and revealed his true self. The stars revolved with Long Chen at the center, leaving ripples through space. Moreover, that space twisted wildly simply due to Long Chen's existence. It was as if all Daos were bowing toward him. It was unspeakably wild and domineering. This was a powerful image, one that was completely different from his normal self, to the point that even Bai Shishi's heart fluctuated slightly. It went without saying that Long Chen truly possessed an extremely coarse and wild flavor. She had seen plenty of handsome men, but it was her first time seeing someone who looked to be filled with wildness. Long Chen. Just at that moment, a furious roar came from underground like a curse from hell. That voice was filled with bloody resentment. Zhao Wuzheng then came flying out of the ground. His current state was rather miserable. One of his arms was a bloody mess, and his forearm was broken. Blood dripped down from him. Bai Shishi couldn't help feeling surprised when she saw Zhao Wuzheng. He was truly worthy of being the #1 figure of the Golden Bell Gates junior generation. Anyone else would have been flattened by such a terrifying blow. But it seemed that he was still fine. Bai Shishi suddenly realized that Zhao Wuzheng specialized in countering her. As a metal cultivator, she was skilled in offense and defense, but her offense was not overwhelming enough. In a 1-against-1, she would not fear someone like Zhao Wuzheng. But in a group battle, Zhao Wuzheng's power would become her greater hindrance. Killing intent then filled her heart. Suddenly she had a thought. Could it be? She then looked at Long Chen, the man that she couldn't see through. Long Chen had previously told her that they had to eliminate the assassin from the Bloodkill Hall, or that would be the greatest threat against both of them. Thinking back, whether it was the assassin or Zhao Wuzheng, they were all specialized to target her. As for Long Chen, he was specifically picking them off. Was he fighting Zhao Wuzheng specially to reduce the threat toward her? Thinking of that, ripples appeared in her heart. She was no fool. Just from some faint clues, she understood Long Chen's thinking. Today, either you die or I die. Zhao Wuzheng glared at Long Chen. At some point, his pupils had become vertical like a viper's. The wounds on his arm rapidly healed. At the same time, motley marks appeared over Zhao Wuzheng's body. Fangs then appeared out of his mouth, and a tail appeared on his back. He became a monster in the blink of an eye. That was not the aura of a human. It'll definitely be you dying. Long Chen looked at him indifferently, as if this transformation was nothing to him. He clasped his hands behind him and waited. Long Chen, careful. That's the immemorial ape devil's bloodline divine ability. He is summoning his bloodline heroic spirit to possess him. Warned by Shi suddenly. Long Chen smiled slightly. I know. With his current realm and that faint bloodline, summoning a heroic spirit to possess him will only let him last a few minutes. After that, his life will be over. The backlash will take his life. However, I don't need to interrupt him. I did say that I would beat him in his strongest area so that he would be fully convinced in death. Then he'll know what true power is. Long Chen simply stood there, allowing Zhao Wuzheng to transform. The latter was now covered in black fur, and his nails were like knives. Two of his fangs gave off a cold light. Most terrifying of all were his eyes. There seemed to be something moving within his eyes, and it was exceedingly bizarre. Long Chen, you'll regret your foolishness. Zhao Wuzheng opened his mouth, causing everyone to jump. That was not his voice. It was as if the immemorial ape devil had come to life, giving off a devilish pressure. The current Zhao Wuzheng had fully transformed into a giant. He had been especially talented even as a child, with a strangely good aptitude. Hence, his family always focused on raising him with their full power. His physical body was absolutely terrifying, and even when he was a youth, his name had spread far and wide. Later he was discovered by the head of the Golden Bell Gate and taken as his disciple. His master then gave him the Golden Bell Gate's priceless immemorial ape devil's essence blood for him to merge with. Zhao Wuzheng worked hard, spending 3 years merging with that essence blood. During these 3 days, he spent day and night tormented by that devil blood. Although he managed to merge with it in the end, it also affected his character. His temper grew more explosive, and he became easy to anger. He would kill someone at the slightest offense. Other than a few higher-ups in the Golden Bell Gate, no one dared to offend him. Being tricked into drinking Long Chen's divine elixir and facing setback after setback had completely enraged him. He no longer cared about the consequences. Hence, he unleashed that devil bloodline, summoning an ancient heroic spirit to bring his power to the absolute limit. However, with his current cultivation base, doing so would result in a terrifying price. He had to end the battle before all his essence blood was ignited. If he could preserve a bit of power, he could at least defend against the backlash and avoid death. He had black fur on his skin and fangs protruding out of his mouth. He then glared at Long Chen with his viper eyes. His aura was completely devilish, very frightening. At this moment, he was no longer Zhao Wuzheng but a monster possessed by the devil ape. The aura of the immemorial ape devil filled this world, as if they had been transported back in time to when the devil apes reigned supreme. That aura was ancient, desolate, cruel, and bloodthirsty, making people's souls quiver. All the life forms of that era were frightening. Legend was that the human race of that era was at the bottom of the food chain. It was those beasts that were the true overlords of that time. Xie Tianyu, Lu Chunyang, Zhen Meilian, Lu Zihao, and Chu Yang were shocked. Although they had heard that Zhao Wuzheng had a terrifying trump card and their elders had sternly warned them not to offend him, they hadn't expected it to reach this level. But along with that shock, there was a trace of disdain. There was no question as to Zhao Wuzheng's power. But he was truly foolish. Everyone was supposed to join forces against Bai Shishir and Long Chen. But in his anger, Zhao Wuzheng had started burning away his own life without worry. Even if he killed Long Chen and Bai Shishir, that terrifying price might cripple him. No matter how strong he was, someone without a brain wasn't worth fearing. Hence, the rest of them were happy to watch as Zhao Wuzheng killed himself fighting Bai Shishir and Long Chen. They would be the ones to benefit. Furthermore, they had a valid excuse for not fighting. When they had first gathered, Zhao Wuzheng had told them not to interfere in his battle, or he would kill without differentiating friends or foes. Those words had almost caused Lu Chunyang and Lu Zihao to turn hostile. After all, they were all peak heavenly geniuses with their own dignity. Zhao Wuzheng's domineering words had insulted them. Thus, they were a bit delighted to see him throwing away his life like this. They didn't help. Chu Yang and the others simply watched, and Bai Shishir was the same. She didn't know what they were thinking, but as long as they didn't interfere, it would be her and Long Chen benefiting. After all, 1 against 1 would definitely be easier than 2 against 6. Furthermore, Bai Shishir found that Long Chen's expression was still calm, as if Zhao Wuzheng's transformation didn't bother him at all. At the same time, she noticed that the stars around him were moving according to some mysterious rhythm. With every revolution of the stars, their auras condensed a bit more. Although she didn't know what Long Chen was doing, based on the current state, this was more favorable to them. Holding her golden sword, she simply stood in the sky to keep an eye on the others. Zhao Wuzheng moved, stamping on the air. At the same time, the void rumbled as if he was stamping on ice, and a strange sound rang out. A footprint was left in the sky, and it lasted for a long time before fading. An ancient heroic spirit, someone whose spirit was not distinguished despite having their flesh destroyed. A single drop of essence blood can be the carrier that summons the will of the heroic spirit. As expected, the life forms of the archaic era cannot be comprehended by the current era, said Long Chen as he looked at Zhao Wuzheng. The immemorial ape devil's name was just a generic term for certain devil ape life forms. The devil ape's aura that came from Zhao Wuzheng might be powerful, but there was no legendary manifestation that followed it. Hence, Long Chen judged that the essence blood Zhao Wuzheng had obtained came from a devil ape of the archaic era. Even if it was just from the archaic era, it was still so terrifying. It was able to summon the undying will of its master. This showed just how terrifying the experts of that era were. Growing afraid now is useless. What awaits you is death. Zhao Wuzheng stepped forward, his voice rough and icy, as if his voice was transmitted from the archaic era. Long Chen narrowed his eyes and suddenly thought of himself. Should he also think of obtaining some essence blood to strengthen himself? His azure dragon essence blood came from the lower plane. If he obtained true dragon essence blood from the immortal world, how much would it strengthen the dragon blood battle armor? 100 times? 1,000 times? 10,000 times? Seeing that Long Chen didn't reply, Zhao Wuzheng's black furry face smiled sinisterly. He slowly extended his hand. Blood marks appeared on his nails. His fingernails swept through the air lightly, and a sharp whistling sound rang out. Long scars were left in the space wherever his nails passed. It was as if the void had been torn open, and it was a long while before the scars healed. When I summon the ancient heroic spirit, I am unrivaled. Even my sex elders aren't a match for me. So against you, I just need one move. A few minutes? That would be as long as 10,000 years for you. As for that backlash, it's negligible to me. It won't harm my foundation. Those idiots are just like you, and think I'm a fool. If it weren't for the Gate Master's orders, I'd kill them along with you, said Zhao Wuzheng, his gaze passing across Xie Tianyu and the others. That sinister light in his eyes made their hearts shiver. Their thinking had actually been seen through by Zhao Wuzheng. Furthermore, it seemed that this wasn't his first time summoning this ancient heroic spirit, and that everything was still within his control. Have a taste of death, ignorant ant. Zhao Wuzheng suddenly accelerated. Like a black meteorite, he charged toward Long Chen. Black ripples spread throughout this entire space and devil chi sword. Devil ape tears apart the heavens. Zhao Wuzheng roared and spread his claws. As a result, the void twisted and tore, shredded like paper. Everyone was stunned. Zhao Wuzheng was still in the divine flame realm. Wasn't it said that someone would only be able to tear through the void barehanded at the divine king realm? Was this to say that he already possessed power on the level of the divine king realm? An insignificant trick. You can't even tear apart that layer of heaven and earth. How do you plan on tearing apart the heavens? Long Chen sneered and pressed his palms together. The stars around him revolved, and the spatial tearing stopped in front of him. At this moment, they realized that what Zhao Wuzheng had torn apart was not the void. Instead, it seemed to be a layer of something like paper that covered this world's laws. Despite that, this divine ability was still terrifying. If the laws of heaven and earth were like the table, then people were the cats crawling on top of the table. Zhao Wuzheng had used some ancient power to stick a piece of paper on the table beneath them. When the paper was torn, the table remained unaffected, but the people standing on top of it instantly felt like they were thrown into chaos. If that tearing had reached him, Long Chen would also have been torn apart. That was an extremely bizarre divine ability. In the current world, such a thing was almost non-existent. However, Long Chen had still seen through it. When he pressed his hands together, it was like two starry skies were merged together, forcibly preventing the tearing. Zhao Wuzheng was rather unlucky. Long Chen was only able to fully control a portion of his power, while the rest was leaking into the air. When Zhao Wuzheng tore apart the void, Long Chen could use his leaking power to stop it. Zhao Wuzheng continued to attack, his claws unleashing tears through the void at Long Chen. However, no matter what he did, those tears were unable to progress past 10 meters in front of Long Chen. My guess would be that your immemorial ape devil's essence blood is impure, and due to how much time has passed, it was not perfectly preserved. Most of its divine essence has already faded, resulting in its power dropping. Otherwise, someone like you wouldn't have had the ability to merge with it. You are managing to use one of the immemorial ape devil's innate divine abilities, but the blood soul power is too weak, while your own power is trash. Perhaps this incomplete divine ability could work against novices, but against Boss Long San, it's useless, said Long Chen indifferently, as if this devilized Zhao Wuzheng was nothing to him. Bullshit. Zhao Wuzheng roared, and strange marks appeared on his arms. His blood chi once more erupted to another level. Suddenly, a sound like jewelry shattering rang out from the void. The void in front of Long Chen wasn't torn apart, but cracks shot past him to his left and right. However, even as the void was torn apart, it wasn't able to harm Long Chen in the slightest, proving his words. What was being apart was just a layer on the surface of the void, but it was a chaotic sight. Die! Seeing that this move was useless, Zhao Wuzheng shot forward like a black bolt of lightning, unleashing a punch. You are nothing more than someone for me to test my power on. You don't know your own limits. Long Chen snorted and also stepped forward. The stars around him revolved rapidly, forming a giant whirlpool. Boom! The two of them clashed, and a twisting eruption of astral light and black devil chi spread. At this moment, Bai Shishir formed a one-handed seal. The golden runes around her whirled and formed a solid shield in front of her. Rubble battered her shield, and that tough shield actually almost cracked. Countless small craters appeared on it. Bai Shishir's heart shook. Both of them had reached a shocking level. This was the result of already being quite far away. If they were closer, this defense wouldn't have blocked that monstrous power. Meanwhile, Xie Tianyu, Chu Yang, and the others also blocked, but they were blown back wretchedly. The very terrain was changed, with the world looking as if someone had used a blade to cut off a layer of it. When looking at this new world, all that could be seen was destruction. At the end of her vision, Bai Shishir saw the ground split open. That was Bai Xiaola's group. The cave system had collapsed from their exchange. The 5 powers experts had scattered throughout the cave system in small groups, allowing Bai Xiaola to easily lead the academy's experts to them and slaughter them. With his spatial energy, he was easily able to pinpoint their locations. However, when the cave system collapsed, they were shocked. Just as they thought that they were exposed, they saw Long Chen fighting Zhao Wuzheng. The sight of that fight ignited Bai Xiaola's blood. "Brothers, work hard. Quickly slaughter the leftovers so we can watch the show." Bai Xiaola hastily gave the orders to finish the mission that Long Chen had given him. He wanted to watch. With the terrain completely transformed, those underground passageways were now exposed. Quite a few of the survivors from the 5 powers tried to charge out. However, Bai Xiaola quickly formed hand seals. Another area split open, and Mu Qingyun and the others charged out as well. "Big Sister Qingyun, split your troops in two." One group hunts down the pigs underground, while another catches the rats that sneak out. Shouted Bai Xiaola. Bai Xiaola was also able to track Mu Qingyun and the others, so he dragged them out to help. After all, Long Chen's orders were to wipe out all of their enemies. If one ran away, he wouldn't be able to explain himself to Long Chen. After all, this was Long Chen's first time giving him a mission. He didn't want Long Chen to look down on him. Because of it, Mu Qingyun and Luo Bing led their disciples out, while the disciples of the Heaven Female Alliance stayed underground to hunt the leftovers. On the other side, Long Chen was still fighting Zhao Wuzheng, with neither side able to suppress the other. With every exchange, the world shuddered. As waves of destruction passed through the land, more underground passageways were exposed, and more experts tried to flee. Luo Bing, Mu Qingyun, and the others couldn't keep an eye on Long Chen's side. With Bai Xiaola guiding them, they hunted the disciples of the 5 powers. Seeing their disciples being slain, Xie Tianyu, Lu Chunyang, Zhen Meilian, and Lu Zihao charged over. However, just at that moment, golden pillars soared into the sky, forming a giant get around this battlefield. "Do you want to come one by one or all together?" asked Bai Shi, standing in their path like a war goddess. "Kill her," shouted Chu Yang, a sharp glint appearing in his eyes. The prayer beads on his wrist glowed, and he charged out first. However, just at that moment, a figure smashed toward him like a shooting star, startling him and forcing him to dodge. Boom! A person smashed into the ground, lying there weakly. His body was already deformed, his bones broken and his eyes listless. Zhao Wuzheng. Chu Yang and the others were appalled. This half-dead person in front of them was Zhao Wuzheng. They hastily looked over at Long Chen. Up in the sky, Long Chen was surrounded by stars, and a 6-colored ring of light spun behind him. As it spun, the void trembled. A supreme will that superseded the 10,000 Daos shook the land. This was Long Chen's first time summoning his divine ring after igniting the divine flames of his stars. The energy of heaven and earth was sucked into the divine ring for Long Chen to control. It was as if he was the master of the world. At this moment, Long Chen understood that the 9-star Hegemon body art had 2 sources of power. The inner power came from his astral power, while the external power came from his divine ring. When his astral power merged with the power of the immortal world, his blood flow quickened. It was as if 10,000 horses were stampeding through his body, like a tsunami was coursing through him. He felt a slight ache in his flesh when he summoned the divine ring. Clearly, although he had finally grasped the method to use his divine flames, his current physical body was barely able to contain this power. Despite that, the power of his fist contained apocalyptic power, and it almost killed Zhao Wuzheng directly. Now, black ripples continued to spread through the void. That was Zhao Wuzheng's immemorial 8 Devils aura. Zhao Wuzheng's ancient heroic spirit has been shattered. Chu Yang and the others' expressions changed. That ancient heroic spirit was a terrifying existence from the archaic era that had left behind their undying will. But it had been broken by Long Chen? Seeing how heavily injured Zhao Wuzheng was, Xie Tianyu suddenly shot over to him and pressed a hand on him, covering him with a layer of water to heal his injuries slowly. In just a moment, Zhao Wuzheng's listless eyes slowly grew bright once more. He was pulled back from the border of death. However, while he didn't die, his wounds couldn't be healed quickly. Xie Tianyu's heart grew cold. His water energy was trying to heal his wounds, but as soon as those wounds healed, they automatically broke again. It was as if there was some kind of law resting within these wounds that was sharply reducing his healing ability. Although they all disliked Zhao Wuzheng, their current situation was not very favorable. So every bit of power that they could preserve counted. Long Chen's divine ring slowly revolved. 3 of the 6 colors spun clockwise, and the other 3 spun counterclockwise. It was as if they were manifesting the mysteries of the 10,000 Daos. As the divine ring spun, the pain in Long Chen's body gradually lessened. He slowly got used to this merger of 2 kinds of power. Before this, controlling just the astral power was already taxing for him, and he had to abandon over half of it. Now that 2 kinds of power were merging, he had to throw away even more. But he had to do this in order to grasp the secrets of the 9-star hegemon body art. Due to wasting 90% of his power and expelling it into the air, from a distance, Long Chen looked like a blazing sun. Ripples continuously poured out of him, crashing against heaven and earth, as if this world could not contain him. Because of this phenomena, others were unable to see clearly. They didn't know what was going on. But if this manifestation was already so terrifying, wouldn't Long Chen be absolutely horrifying? Even after summoning an ancient heroic spirit, Zhao Wuzheng was still almost killed by a single punch from him. Just who was a match for him? Boss is mighty. In the distance, Bai Xiaola shouted excitedly. Seeing how domineering Long Chen was, he felt like he was the one standing out. Luo Bing, Luo Ning, and Mu Qingyun also couldn't help staring at him as they hunted down the remnants of the 5 powers. They were excited as well. Long Chen was growing more and more powerful, more and more terrifying. What are you all staring blankly for? Hurry up and kill yourselves. Are you waiting for Boss Long San to personally do it? Demanded Long Chen coldly at Xie Tianyu and the others. Xie Tianyu and the others were enraged. But Chu Yang sneered, Long Chen, give up the act. Your current power isn't under your control at all. This manifestation might be shocking, but your power is completely scattered. At most, you can control 10 to 20% of the power you're showing. Furthermore, all this energy is being wasted. How long can you last like this? If you think you can trick me, you are still too immature. Xie Tianyu and the others realized that Chu Yang was telling the truth. They now sensed Long Chen's weakness. It truly was as Chu Yang said. If a person's body was like a water reservoir, the power they could control would be like the valve at the bottom of the dam. The greater the control, the smaller the valve. With the smaller valve, the water sped through it faster due to the pressure. On the opposite end of the spectrum, with a larger valve, although more water flowed out, the weaker pressure meant that it lacked destructive power. Long Chen's current state was like a reservoir where the water was gushing out of the top. Although the amount was shocking, its destructive power wasn't so great. Such an obvious fact had actually been covered up due to just how shocking Long Chen's current aura was, along with the fact that Long Chen had crushed Zhao Wuzheng in one blow. That fear had caused them to lose their wits temporarily. Who would have thought that the Chu family's people actually had some brains? So you noticed. But even if a lion can't control his own power, do you think a pack of rabbits can do anything to him? Long Chen smiled. Long Chen, you're too arrogant. Do you really think that you're the only one with trump cards? Chu Yang showed off his prayer beads. I know you have trump cards, but it's too bad that you don't have the brain capacity to use them. Do you realize that you missed your only chance to kill me? Asked Long Chen. Is that so? Chu Yang was equally calm, speaking neither quickly nor slowly. Do you remember when we first entered the Jialin Immortal Land? At that time, I beat you so badly you couldn't even counterattack. In the end, you fled miserably, and if it weren't for that old bastard Chu Huairan, you would already be dead, said Long Chen. So what? That was nothing more than an accident. I won't give you another chance, snorted Chu Yang. No, you've given it to me. I had a fortuitous encounter in the underground palace and learned how to control my power. But mastering this new method required time. While fighting Zhao Wuzheng, I slowly grew familiar with my power, increasing my power step by step. If you had all directly attacked at the start instead of just watching, I really might have died full of regrets here, unable to unleash the power in my body. Now you no longer have the ability to kill me. What awaits you is only death, said Long Chen. Oh really? I disagree. Your life is mine. Chu Yang smiled. His previous panic and confusion vanished, replaced with calm. That calmness was due to absolute confidence, as if everything was under his control. "Oh, does your confidence stem from fallen Daynight?" asked Long Chen. Chu Yang's confident expression instantly vanished. He stared in shock at Long Chen. Fallen Daynight was as famous as Lord Brahma, and his name shook the 9 heavens and 10 lands. He was said to be the ancestor of pill tools, but only a few had knowledge in that regard. Contrary to Lord Brahma, Fallen Daynight had fewer believers. Fallen Daynight's believers were all picked out from amongst Lord Brahma's believers. As a result, even amongst Lord Brahma's followers, not many people even knew about Fallen Daynight's appearance. Hence, Chu Yang was startled when Long Chen called out his name. It had to be known that on the surface, he merely appeared to be one of Lord Brahma's disciples but was actually one of Fallen Daynight's followers. Even within the Chu family, the number of people aware of this did not surpass 10. But Long Chen had seen through it. Long Chen sneered. Lord Brahma and Fallen Daynight. One stood in the open, one stayed in the dark. But they were both snakes and rats from the same pit. He had seen the statue of Fallen Daynight in the lower plane and was familiar with his aura. Curiously, here in the immortal world, he was unable to find any inheritances left behind by Fallen Daynight. But those prayer beads had a figure carved into them, and Long Chen was very familiar with Fallen Daynight's appearance. No need to be curious. I am a Heaven Master of the High Firmament Academy. If I didn't at least have this little ability, how could I participate in the 9 Prefecture Convention? Long Chen continued, It is precisely because I saw through you that I worked together with this pretty girl to first kill that fellow from the Blood Kill Hall and then cripple Zhao Wuzheng. Can you not understand? Chu Yang finally grew uneasy. Long Chen seemed to have seen through everything, and the entire battle seemed to be in his control. Hence, Chu Yang's heart sank. I know you're very powerful and have immense trump cards. If we couldn't knock them down one by one, the ones to die today would be the 2 of us. But now, that dislikable assassin is dead, and the only one who can threaten the pretty girl, Zhao Wuzheng, is crippled. The battlefield has been balanced. Now I can freely experience the methods of Fallen Daynight. Long Chen stretched lazily, a crackling sound ringing from his bones. Hearing that, Bai Shishir was startled. Long Chen's calculations went so deep. But the truly surprising thing was that someone she had never cared about, Chu Yang, would be the strongest existence here. It seemed that all the preparation that Long Chen had made in advance was just so that he could fight Chu Yang freely. Also, it was all to reduce the pressure on her. Pretty girl, I can only do this much. It should be no problem for you to handle the other 5, right? Asked Long Chen, rolling his shoulders as if he was warming up. I'm called Bai Shishir. Call me that again and I'll beat you to death, shouted Bai Shishir. Despite being a bit moved by Long Chen's methods, his actual words still angered her. He had actually given her a nickname? Haha, it sounds like it should be no problem. Let's start. Long Chen suddenly shot out at Chu Yang, moving so fast that he was like a phantom. Day-night armor. The 18 prayer beads around Chu Yang's wrist dispersed and formed a ring behind him. After that, golden armor appeared around his body. Boom. Long Chen's fist landed right on Chu Yang's armored chest. As a result, a brilliant explosion erupted and the entire world shuddered. Chu Yang was sent flying, but shockingly, the fist that almost killed Zhao Wuzheng was received by Chu Yang. The slight dent in the armor quickly repaired itself. I was right. Most of your power is simply dispersing. You can't even break my day-night armor. Today, you will be buried in this Jolin immortal land. Chu Yang suddenly laughed. Although Long Chen's blow had shaken him, he had still managed to block it. Hence, a weight fell from his heart. Ignorant fool, you will never understand just how great divine venerate Daynight's power is. With his confidence inflating, Chu Yang's armor glowed, and a pair of divine feather wings appeared on his back. He charged at Long Chen. Boom. However, Long Chen's foot landed on his stomach midway, sending him flying in the opposite direction. Who does Fallen Daynight think he is to dare act arrogantly in front of Boss San? Asked Long Chen. He unleashed a tempest of attacks. Chu Yang blocked with all his powers, but his close-range fighting skills with his fists and feet were far inferior compared to Long Chen. Long Chen unleashed 10 blows, and he was only able to block 3. The rest landed on his body. He didn't even have the ability to counterattack. Every blow left a dent in his armor. In just a short moment, Chu Yang was struck dozens of times by fists and feet, but he didn't seem injured. "Ha, oh fool, you can't do anything to me. My Daynight armor can block any attack. Have you not noticed that a portion of your attack power is absorbed, and the other portion is further dispersed into the void? I'm only enduring a very small part of it. The Daynight armor can only be summoned with pure faith energy. It is not made of metal but composed of the weaving laws of heaven and earth. Even if you hit me for 10 years, you wouldn't be able to break it. Even without me doing anything, you will quickly exhaust yourself to death." Chu Yang laughed as he received Long Chen's attacks. Just at this moment, explosions erupted in the distance. There, golden light flashed, water chi soared, and earth energy thrummed. Bai Shirshi's side had also started fighting. It was Bai Shirshi who initiated things. Chu Yang's armor was too monstrous, and if Long Chen was unable to break it, then once he was out of energy he would be doomed. She had to quickly kill all these people so she could go assist him. Golden runes revolved within her beautiful eyes. The next moment, a giant golden dragon flew out of the ground, and golden swords flew in the air. This area became a land of death. Xie Tianyu, Lu Chunyang, Zhen Meiyan, Lu Zihao, and the just barely recovered Zhao Wuzheng hastily fought back. "Careful!" Xie Tianyu shouted. Just as they pounced on Bai Shirshi, they found that Bai Shirshi had suddenly appeared behind Zhao Wuzheng. Her sword slashed toward him. Zhao Wuzheng roared and unleashed a punch with the trace of power he had recovered. And beyond everyone's wildest imagination, Bai Shirshi and her golden sword were blasted into golden bits. "What?" Zhao Wuzheng and the others were startled. Suddenly, Zhao Wuzheng felt a chill behind him. Just as he turned, a golden sword stabbed through his back. The instant it stabbed through his body, he turned the same color as the sword, becoming a golden statue. With a light pat from an elegant hand, that statue exploded. The Golden Bellgates No. 1 Junior was turned into gold dust. Zhao Wuzheng was already seriously injured. While it went without saying that he was extremely powerful, regretfully, he had run into Long Chen. Long Chen had immense combat experience and was even specialized in close-range combat. When he and Zhao Wuzheng were fighting a battle of physical bodies, when Long Chen grasped a chance, he gave Zhao Wuzheng a serious wound. Hence, that wound contained Long Chen's astral power, which made it so that even an expert water cultivator like Xie Tianyu was unable to quickly heal him. After that, Bai Shirshi didn't give him any chance. Her first target was him, and he instantly fell. It's a cloning art. Xie Tianyu and the others suddenly realized that they had been tricked. Due to being injured, Zhao Wuzheng had chosen to stay at the rear. By the time Xie Tianyu and the others charged forward, Bai Shirshi's true body had already been concealed, while her clone baited Zhao Wuzheng. That clone was not simply an illusory image. It possessed its own physical body. It was only once Zhao Wuzheng broke it apart that he realized that he had fallen for a trap. "Don't hold back. Kill her." Xie Tianyu ignited his essence blood, and 2 coiling water dragons shot out of him, attacking Bai Shirshi. Lu Chunyang clenched his teeth and suddenly spat a mouthful of blood onto his warhammer. His warhammer seemed to awaken, as if an ancient beast was disturbed. With blazing divine light, it smashed toward Bai Shirshi. Zhen Meiyan and Lu Zihao also took out their trump cards. A full moon curved blade and a supreme divine diagram appeared. Both of them were awoken and charged toward Bai Shirshi with destructive power. They had no choice but to do so. Bai Shirshi was too powerful. Without Chu Yang, Zhao Wuzheng and the Bloodkill Hall's assassin, the 4 of them could easily die if they messed up. They couldn't hope for Chu Yang's assistance either. Bai Shirshi had specifically chosen to take action because she felt the situation wasn't favorable, and she wanted to kill them to help Long Chen. If they wanted to stay alive, they had to go all out. With the 4 of them unleashing their power, They were not that much weaker than Zhao Wuzheng. As Bai Shishir's golden swords danced, the golden dragon beneath her feet roared, and a torrent of golden swords rained down upon them. Both sides were relatively evenly matched. The ground slowly fell as they fought. The terrain of this area deformed, and astral winds with broken runes flew out, shocking Luo Bing and the others. This is a battle between peak experts? We can't even get close. Luo Ning stared in shock, her face pale. Despite being in the divine flame realm as well, the difference was immense. "Retreat!" shouted Bai Xiaola suddenly. "What?" Luo Bing and the others were still guarding the caves, preventing the disciples of the five powers from escaping. Why would they retreat? Boom! A group of women charged out, their white robes scarlet with fresh blood. It was the warriors of the Heaven Female Alliance. "Run!" As soon as they appeared, they fled. Luo Bing and the others could only follow. As he ran, Bai Xiaola shouted, "Boss says to run as far as possible. Ignore the leftovers." "Why?" shouted Luo Ning, pulling on Bai Xiaola. "Do you need to ask? Look at your own waist plate." Bai Xiaola pointed. Only then did Luo Bing and the others notice a rune flashing rapidly on those plates. "Time's almost up?" Luo Bing and the others were startled. They had been so immersed in the fighting that they hadn't even noticed. This indicated that their temporary stay in the Jialan Immortal Land was almost up. The exit would open soon, and they had to pass through it. The transportation rune was originally with Long Chen, but he had given it to Bai Xiaola to look after. In other words, wherever Bai Xiaola was when the time was up would be where the transportation gate would open. Then can't they leave as well? Weren't we supposed to wipe them out? Asked Luo Ning. How am I supposed to know? Boss told me what to do, so that's what I'm doing. You women are so vexing, exclaimed Bai Xiaola irritably, feeling that Luo Ning was too long-winded. Just as he said this, she kicked him. Bai Xiaola was speechless, now not only feeling that women were too long-winded but also unreasonable. Hence, he decided to ignore her and continued leading everyone madly rushing away. Just as Bai Xiaola and the others were fleeing, the battle between Long Chen and Chu Yang continued to grow increasingly intense. After fighting for so long, Chu Yang was shocked to find that Long Chen's punches grew heavier and heavier. There was no sign of him running out of power. It was as if he had more power than he could use. Furthermore, for some reason, a nameless kind of terror started to appear in Chu Yang's heart. He began to feel like his life was in immense danger. That was the feeling that stemmed from being an expert. It was as if he was currently walking deeper and deeper into the abyss. Your power is still rising. Chu Yang suddenly realized what was wrong. Previously, Long Chen had said that he had missed his best chance to kill him. That was why he chose to don his armor, to exhaust Long Chen's power. However, now he found that Long Chen's power was still rising. It was as if he had been turned into a training partner for him. In that instance, he realized he had once more been conned. You're only realizing it now? It's too late. Long Chen sneered, sending Chu Yang flying with a punch. Chu Yang was shocked and enraged. He had always considered himself to be very smart, with only a few people able to beat him in intelligence. But he found that he was like a fool in front of Long Chen, repeatedly running into setbacks and simply walking headlong into Long Chen's trap. No matter what he did the wrong thing. If it weren't for his innate senses telling him that his mind was wrong, he would probably have continued fighting like this, trying to exhaust Long Chen into eternity. These senses didn't just stem from him. They came from his cultivation technique, as well as his faith in the divine venerate. He was Fallen Daynight's devoted follower, so he had Fallen Daynight's divine mark, which allowed him to sense great danger. Your tricks are far too childish, far too low level. I've long since stopped playing with those things. You are someone skilled in waiting patiently, and you don't wish to expose your true trump cards. I suppose your trump cards are supposed to be used to fight over the position of the head of your family. But have you ever thought that the real problem would be whether or not you could leave the Jialan Immortal Land alive? The star diagram behind Long Chen continued to revolve, and endless power gushed into him. It was as if some explosive power hidden within those stars was about to break free from its seal and destroy the world. Fine. Then I won't hold back. I'll show you a supreme power within this world. Daynight Divine Radiance. Chu Yang clenched his teeth. The 18 prayer beads behind him exploded and a statue appeared behind him. Divine light radiated from the statue, filling this world and shaking the heavens. This was a statue of fallen Daynight. When fallen Daynight's figure appeared behind Chu Yang, heaven and earth rumbled. It was vaguely possible to see spatial cracks throughout his existence, as divine energy flowed through those cracks. It was as if the world could not contain that power. This was different from Chu Kuang's manifestation. This manifestation had a trace of the will of a true god, a will that stood above the laws of the world. Hence, the very void was crushed. Longchen, do you see this? What are you going to use to fight this power? Roared Chu Yang, his eyes scarlet. At this moment, cracks appeared in his eyes, and blood slowly flowed out of his 7 orifices. Clearly, the fallen Daynight Divine Radiance could not be summoned casually. He had to sacrifice a portion of his own longevity and Yuan spirit to do so. Divine Radiance descends, 10,000 Daos rise and fall. All of heaven and earth are under my control. No one can match me. Chu Yang roared. Boom. The statue fully concentrated on his body. As he formed hand seals, the void exploded and a giant pill furnace appeared. When it showed up, brilliant light shattered the 10,000 Daos. After that, a terrifying wave of divine might erupted, and Bai Shishir and the others were actually forced to stop and were blown back. Their magical arts crumbled in the face of that divine might. The surrounding land was crushed, turned to smithereens. Whether it was stone mountains or ancient buildings, they were crushed by that divine pressure. Longchen. Even as blood dripped out of her mouth, Bai Shishir turned toward Longchen. Her runic golden shield had no use at all, so she stared in shock at that giant pill furnace. It revolved through the air, unleashing waves of power. Longchen appeared incredibly minuscule in front of it. Bastard! Xie Tianyu, Lu Chunyang, Zhen Meilian, and Lu Zihao were covered in blood. Their backs had been facing Chu Yang, essentially turning them into her shields. They were almost killed. Bai Xiaola and the others had already fled far into the distance, but those shockwaves still reached them. Fortunately, they were far away enough that no one was injured. Are they really human? One of the Heaven Female Alliance's experts stared in horror at that distant battlefield. Fortunately, they were cultivators. If they were ordinary people, they wouldn't even be able to see the slightest bit of somewhere that far. They saw the giant pill furnace spinning in the air, the 10,000 Daos crumbling around it. That power sparked despair. Good thing we escaped. If we were any slower, we'd be the same as those unlucky ghosts, not even knowing how we died. Zhong Ling wet her lips, still feeling some lingering fear. They had fled, but the remaining disciples of the 5 powers were still underground. They had been crushed to bits without even knowing what had happened. Boss really is boss. Everything is under his control. Bai Xiaola's eyes shone like stars. That expression of worship could no longer be described with words. Luo Bing, Luo Ning, Mu Qingyun, and the others were also amazed. Not only was Longchen incredibly powerful, but whether it was the crafty Chu Kuang, the wily Chu Huairan, or the patient Chu Yang, they all seemed to be fools in comparison. In terms of age, Longchen was actually a few years younger than them, but they all felt incredibly immature compared to him. He was simply a demon. Fortunately, they were Longchen's friends, not his enemies. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to even sleep without being woken with fright. As the divine furnace revolved, the power of heaven and earth's 10,000 Daos seemed to be absorbed by it. A supreme will then rose. Longchen, this is my ultimate power. Now, do you understand the difference between us? Chu Yang raised his head and laughed. That laughter was full of furious killing intent. He was fallen Daynight's follower. However, summoning the Daynight Divine Radiance came at a huge price for him. He had sacrificed his own longevity for this supreme divine power. Are you afraid? Why don't you crawl on the ground in inferiority as you wait for your death? Chu Yang slowly formed hand seals. The next moment, the divine radiance slowly descended upon Long Chen. Long Chen ignored the pill furnace. Instead, he was staring at the statue. Looking at the runes revolving around the statue, he felt a slightly familiar feeling. To merge heaven and earth into one, to refine the 10,000 Daos into a single furnace, Long Chen muttered to himself. Long Chen, what are you doing? Are you still not going to ask him for help? In the distance, Bai Shishir shouted to him when she saw him muttering to himself like a fool. Long Chen was drawn out of his stupor. Looking at her anxious expression, he smiled. Pretty girl, are you worried about me? Scram! Bai Shishir was enraged. Even at this time, this bastard was in the mood for this nonsense? Was his head broken? Hearing her words, Chu Yang's pupils shrank. Based on what she said, Long Chen still had a trump card that could resist his divine ability. Die! Not letting the divine furnace continue absorbing the power of heaven and earth, Chu Yang directly made it crash toward Long Chen. Luo Bing and the others were shocked to find that when the divine furnace fell, time and space seemed to stop. They couldn't move. Even they were affected. Long Chen, what are you waiting for? In the distance, Bai Shishir grew even more anxious. The stone giant had yet to come out, and this attack contained the will of divine venerate fallen Daynight. Ignoring the power of the 10,000 Daos that it had absorbed, just the will of such a supreme god could kill him. Long Chen gestured for her to be at ease. I was planning on using that trump card, but if it's just on this level, it'd be too wasteful. It's just the will of fallen Daynight. Is that so amazing? Boss Long San will take a look today. 6-star battle armor. Long Chen let out a cry inside. The next moment, 6 stars lit up within his divine ring, and lines began to connect them. However, this time, the first star, the Fengfu star, was lit ablaze. In that instant, Long Chen felt like a volcano erupted within his body. A line of fury exploded out of the Fengfu star and ignited the Alioth star, and then the Life Fate star. When the Life Fate star was ignited, a triangle shape appeared within his divine ring. Heaven and earth resonated, and the world changed color. Long Chen suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. He was shocked to find that when these 3 stars ignited, his 108,000 stars suddenly stopped. All their power poured into those 3 stars, causing their power to explode over 10 times. Cracks covered his dragon scales, as they had reached their limit. Fuck, I can only activate 3 stars? What the miscalculation? Long Chen cursed inside. He hadn't expected the 6-star battle armor's power to have become so monstrous as well. His dragon scales were already at the limit with just 3 stars. At this moment, that terrifying divine furnace smashed down, covering the heavens. There wasn't even time to summon the heaven-merging stone spirit. Clenching his teeth, Long Chen unleashed a single punch. Boom! Long Chen's fist smashed into the divine furnace. Only then did Long Chen realize that the divine furnace was composed entirely of a god's will, something that merged the 10,000 Daos with the laws of heaven and earth as the foundation. The supreme will erupted from the furnace. In front of it, Long Chen appeared completely minuscule, like a drop in the ocean. For some reason, when that will appeared, Long Chen's eyes turned scarlet, and all his power erupted. Even if his bones were crushed to bits, he couldn't retreat even half a step. Boom! That heaven-encompassing divine furnace shattered. As for Long Chen, he hacked up blood, his entire body cracking like porcelain. When the divine furnace crumbled, the 10,000 Daos were broken, the laws of heaven and earth were torn apart, and the sun and moon lost their light. Chu Yang also coughed up blood. The statue behind him exploded, leaving him bloody and mangled. Both Long Chen and Chu Yang almost lost their lives and were seriously injured. Seeing this result, Bai Shishir was the first to react. She rushed over to Long Chen, who was only a breath away from a dead person. If he wasn't saved now, anyone could simply hit him lightly and take his life. Xie Tianyu and the others quickly realized this as well. A single long-range attack could take Long Chen's life, so this was their best chance. Even Chu Yang's life or death wasn't as important to them. Covered in cracks, Long Chen heard his body cracking with the slightest move, as if it would collapse. This was truly a grievous wound. After struggling to stand, he circulated the primal chaos space's life energy to recover. Fortunately, the countless precious medicinal plants contained immense life energy that helped him recover. Although it wasn't an instantaneous recovery, at the very least, it stopped his condition from worsening. On the other hand, Chu Yang crawled up and vomited several mouthfuls of blood. Even some broken bits of his insides came out. Contrary to Long Chen, he wasn't directly attacked, so his condition looked a bit lighter than Long Chen's. But his physical body also wasn't as tough as Long Chen's. Even if it was just the resulting backlash from the Divine Furnace's explosion, he was almost torn apart. Long Chen began walking slowly to Chu Yang. He smiled coldly. Although there were some surprises, in the end, I'm the winner. You're the one who's going to die today. Seeing that Long Chen still seemed to have power, Chu Yang finally grew terrified. Just at this moment, a ripple spread from the distance. It was like the setting sun casting its final burst of light. When that ripple covered the two of them, Chu Yang's body began to glow. A spatial gate appeared behind him. Haha, you want to kill me? Keep dreaming. You never thought that I had my own independent transportation gate, did you? Time was up. Chu Yang was prepared and had his own transportation gate appear. Without hesitation, he charged in. Needless to say, the place that he was leaving to would not be the High Firmament Academy's gathering place. Just as he dived into the spatial gate, a ball followed him inside. What? Chu Yang's startled cry rang from inside, and then a large explosion blasted apart the spatial gate. Water chi exploded and space twisted. The Decawater Divine Lightning is quite powerful. Long Chen nodded as he watched the twisting space. Although he felt a bit aggrieved to have to waste such a precious treasure on a half-dead Chu Yang, his own wounds were too heavy for him to have any better options. It wasn't as if he could just watch as Chu Yang escaped. Bai Shishir and the others were stunned. They hadn't seen the Decawater Divine Lightning. They only saw Chu Yang enter the spatial gate and then Long Chen wave his hand to make the spatial gate explode, blasting Chu Yang out of existence. Xie Tianyu and the others were particularly stunned. Long Chen was clearly on the verge of death. No? How could he still be so powerful? Suddenly, a lightning dragon appeared, and Long Chen stood on Lei Long's head. With a whip of its tail, Lei Long brought Long Chen rushing toward them. Originally, they were the ones charging toward Long Chen. But seeing him suddenly come over, their expressions changed. Although Long Chen's aura was extremely weak and he was covered in blood, as if a single finger could make him crumble, his calm gaze terrified them, especially after he had crushed Chu Yang and his spatial gate using some unknown method. Since their courage had been broken by him, they fled. Just at this moment, divine light covered this world, and their jade plates flashed. Without hesitation, they activated their own spatial gates. 4 spatial gates appeared, and the 4 of them instantly fled through the gates, vanishing. Once they were gone, Long Chen went to Bai Shishir. Seeing him covered in blood, she asked, "Are you all right?" "I'm fine. It's just losing half a life." "Let's go chase after them," said Long Chen. He grabbed Bai Shishir, and before she could react, she was pulled into one of those spatial gates by Long Chen. "Xiaola, bring everyone away. We'll be back soon," shouted Long Chen as he vanished into a spatial gate along with Bai Shishir. Her startled cry also echoed. Bai Xiaola and the others were too far. Before they could do anything, Long Chen and Bai Shishir had vanished. After a moment, the ripples also covered them. Bai Xiaola then activated his jade plate, and a giant transportation gate appeared. This gate would only last for less than an incense stick's worth of time, so Luo Bing ordered everyone to hastily rush through. Once everyone else was through, Luo Bing and the others glanced back into the distance. They saw that Xie Tianyu and the others' spatial gates had vanished. Hence, they also rushed through. Once through, they saw that they were in the High Firmament Academy's plaza. The Vice Dean, Heaven Master Yun Yang, Heaven Master Dong Ming, the head judge, and the other experts that had led the way for them on that day were all here. Over 400,000 of the 1 million disciples who had entered returned. They were all covered in blood, and the bloody stench startled everyone. Although they had said that there was only a 50% chance of surviving in the Jalan Immortal land, in truth, that was a bit of an exaggeration. It was mostly a warning to the disciples for fear of them carelessly losing their lives. Only a few select members such as the Vice Dean, Heaven Master Yunyang, and the head judge had slight smiles upon seeing so many people return. Clearly, this was more than they had expected. However, while they saw Luo Bing, Bai Xiaola, and the others, they didn't see Long Chen or Bai Shishir. "Where are they?" asked Heaven Master Dong Ming. "Boss brought Bai Shishir to the enemy's camp to play." Bai Xiaola shrugged. "What?" Everyone, including the Vice Dean, couldn't believe their ears. Long Chen and Bai Shishir's vision flashed. They then appeared inside a giant plaza packed with experts. Xie Tianyu, Zhen Meilian, Lu Chunyang, and Lu Zihao were all present, reporting something to a group of elders, when Long Chen and Bai Shishir suddenly appeared beside them. Ah! Zhen Meilian just so happened to be facing Long Chen directly, and seeing his gaze, she screamed. With a single point of his finger, a ray of lightning shot through her head. Just as he killed Zhen Meilian, Bai Shishir's golden sword swung through the air. She didn't give Xie Tianyu, Lu Chunyang, and Lu Zihao a chance to react. 3 heads flew into the air. Xie Tianyu and the others had never dreamed that Long Chen and Bai Shishir would dare to follow them through their transportation gate. Without any defenses up, they were instantly slain. "I already said that I wouldn't let a single one of you live. You dare to say that my word doesn't count?" Long Chen sneered at their 4 corpses. Under normal circumstances, after their heads were cut off, the 3 of them wouldn't instantly die due to their powerful divine flame energy. But Bai Shishir's sword contained her terrifying metal energy, and as soon as their heads were cut off, that metal energy invaded their heads, turning them to gold. When they landed on the ground, they turned into golden dust and were instantly killed. This sudden change left even their elders that had lived countless years completely stunned. By the time they reacted, the 4 of them had been killed. Boss Long San is present. If you don't want to die, hurry up and run. Today, Boss Long San's mood isn't good. This place will be destroyed. Those who flee too late, don't blame Boss Long San for not having any mercy, announced Long Chen, his voice spreading far into the distance. "Brazen interloper, who are you?" barked one of the elders. "That girl, isn't she the High Firmament Academy's Bai Shishir?" They didn't recognize Long Chen, but they did recognize Bai Shishir. After all, her name was famous. However, Long Chen was wearing worn-down black robes with no mark of being a disciple of the High Firmament Academy. His extreme arrogance cowed them. After all, the immortal world had countless terrifying sects, and there were many people that they couldn't offend. Hence, even though they were infuriated, they didn't immediately move to wipe out Long Chen. They wanted to know who this other party was. "You don't even know the name of the renowned and famous boss Long San? Just how have you lived for so long? I'll give you to the count of 3. Either scram or die. Boss Long San is going to take over this sect," said Long Chen, being the very picture of utmost arrogance and disdain. "Who are you? If you don't report your origins, don't blame us for attacking," roared one of the elders. They had to know who he was first. He was so arrogant that he had to have a powerful background. Otherwise, how could he dare to act so arrogant? "Stand steady. Don't collapse when you hear this. Boss Long San comes from the High Firmament Academy," announced Long Chen. "You fucker." Those elders instantly went crazy, launching their attacks. They were as quick as lightning, their claws reaching toward Long Chen. "Tisich, I gave you face but didn't receive any in return. Since you want to die, don't blame Boss Long San for being vicious." Long Chen formed hand seals. Just as those elders were about to reach him, the void shuddered and a giant fist smashed down. Boom! That group of over 10 experts was blasted to smithereens, and the fist continued to strike the plaza, causing the entire plaza to collapse. The surrounding tens of thousands of experts were transformed into blood mist. The heaven-merging stone spirit appeared and roared, his voice shaking the heavens. The grand formations here were destroyed. Long Chen and Bai Shishir stood on his shoulders. Staring at the devastation resulting from a single punch, they were shocked. His power was absolutely terrifying. Who has come to my Golden Bell Gate? If the Golden Bell Gate has offended you, please let us atone for our crimes. Why don't we sit down and discuss this instead? Within the dust, a simple and heavy voice rang out. That voice seemed to be one with the heavenly Daos. Moreover, it came with the will of a ruler and shook Long Chen's blood qi, leaving stars spinning in his eyes. This was another terrifying existence. It's probably a divine lord expert, whispered by Shi. Brother, can you beat him? Asked Long Chen to the heaven-merging stone spirit. No problem. Then kill him. Long Chen was delighted to hear it. Long Chen was surprised to find that the heaven-merging stone spirit seemed even more excited than him. He leaped forward. At this moment, Long Chen and Bai Shi felt a heavy weight crash upon them. The heaven-merging stone spirit had actually brought them high into the clouds. When his entire body glowed, Long Chen noticed that the stars around them also brightened. Then the heaven-merging stone spirit smashed toward the ground like a meteor. Hold on, said the heaven-merging stone spirit. Bai Shi then formed hand seals, summoning golden chains that bound her and Long Chen to his body. Boom. The heaven-merging stone spirit seemed to clash with someone, but the flying runes everywhere made it so that Long Chen and Bai Shi couldn't see who it was. After that, the world became still. Long Chen spread his divine sense and sucked in a cold breath of air. The earth had been torn apart. A bottomless abyss had appeared where the Golden Bell Gate was. As for that divine lord expert, nothing remained of him. The heaven-merging stone spirit brought Long Chen and Bai Shi to the edge of the abyss. The two of them then looked down at that abyss, unable to calm themselves down for a long time. The heaven-merging stone spirit's power far surpassed their expectations. In comparison to him, the little power that they were so proud of was nothing. What a pity, Long Chen sighed. What's a pity? Asked Bai Shi. I didn't expect him to be so powerful. I wanted him to wipe out the sect so I could take their treasury. Those treasures, those precious medicines, those secret tomes, those beautiful women, they're all gone. Long Chen shrugged. Long Chen had been planning on using the heaven-merging stone spirit to establish his own fame and profit a bit. But he hadn't expected the latter to wipe out everything. Now he didn't gain anything, all because he had underestimated his power. Bai Shi was originally listening intently, but when Long Chen added on the beautiful women, she grew scornful. This fellow was spouting nonsense once more. Long Chen found a nearby boulder and took out a dagger. He then left behind a line of bold words. Boss Long San was here. What are you doing? Asked Bai Shi. Doing good things without leaving my name isn't my style. I want everyone to know who did this. In any case, this can't be covered up, so I might as well be direct. Wouldn't it be better to be more heroic? Said Long Chen lightly. The High Firmament Academy had so many people, and it was unknown just how many eyes from the outside world were placed there. The fact that he and Bai Shi hadn't returned with everyone would be well known to their enemies, so what the two of them had to have done would be obvious. Long Chen also wasn't planning on covering it up. He had found the correct way to cultivate, so it was time for Boss Long San to rise. Brother, our agreement has been completed. Let us part ways here. Thank you, said Long Chen to the heaven-merging stone spirit. Brother San, many thanks. The stone giant knelt on one knee and performed an ancient etiquette to Long Chen. Bai Shi stared in confusion. It was clearly the stone giant helping Long Chen, so why would he be the one thanking Long Chen? The heavenly stone spirit race might have simple heads, but we're not fools. You freed me from my promise so soon to give me my freedom. Only once the stone giant said this did Bai Shi understand. No wonder Long Chen had pulled her into the transportation gate. He didn't just want to kill those four. Long Chen was also surprised that the stone giant saw through his intentions. He knew that the stone giant's power was so immense that using this favor like this was very wasteful, but he couldn't help thinking of the simple wild. After the agreement was complete, the stone giant could return home, so Long Chen had him freed up sooner. Brother San, you're still too weak. I can guard you for 3 years, said the giant. Long Chen waved his hand, interrupting him. He then patted his giant arm. If you stay by my side, I will grow too dependent on you. That's not good for my own growth. You might be powerful, but it's still not enough against my future enemies. I can't depend on you forever. Since that's the case, it's better for you to regain your freedom so I can raise my own ability to handle danger. The path of cultivation depends on yourself. However, I understand your heart. You call me Brother San, but you still don't have a name. How about I give you a name? You are from the Heavenly Stone Spirit race's Heaven-Merging Stone Spirit branch. I'll name you Shi Tongtian. Many thanks, Brother San. Go. If fate allows it, let us meet again. Promise me something first. Don't talk to anyone from the human race before returning to your ancestral land, warned Long Chen. Considering his simple nature, he could easily be tricked. Long Chen didn't want him to be freed from this place only to be tricked somewhere else. Shi Tongtian bowed toward Long Chen and then with a single step, vanished. The world returned to calm. If it weren't for that bottomless abyss, Long Chen might have forgotten about the existence of the Golden Bell Gate. Staring at the bottomless abyss, Long Chen was silent for a long time. He had thought that he was already quite powerful. But compared to Shi Tongtian, he was incredibly weak. Shi Tongtian wasn't even a fully matured existence in the Heavenly Stone Spirit race. He hadn't even received his race's baptism but was already so terrifying. The immortal world was truly enormous. There were thousands of races, and there were far too many things that Long Chen hadn't seen yet. What are you just standing there for? Bai Shi finally spoke up a bit impatiently. Sigh. All things have spirits. In the end, it is impossible to escape mortality. All living beings have their own troubles. Let me just have a moment of silence for them. Long Chen had an expression of bemoaning the state of the world, a pity for the fate of mankind. Seeing that appearance, Bai Shi scornfully said, "If it weren't for that delighted smile of yours, I might believe you." What kind of mournful saint did this fellow think he was? Despite his act, that smile of his could not be concealed no matter what. As expected of the #1 figure of the High Firmament Academy's junior generation. Not even this can trick you. Let's go. If we still don't leave, we might not be able to at all, said Long Chen. Bai Shi then took out her golden war chariot. When Long Chen entered, he found that the space inside was extremely large and very luxurious. Not standing on courtesy, Long Chen walked over to a corner with a blanket and sat down. There was already a cup of tea on the small table and he drank it. The formation activated and the golden war chariot sped off like a shooting star. Its speed was many times greater than a flying boat. Seeing Long Chen acting like this was his own home and being so casual in his broken-down robes that were covered in blood, Bai Shi frowned. Most irritating of all, the spot he was sitting in was hers. That cup of tea was also something she had drunk from. That is my tea, said Bai Shi with a glare. I don't mind, said Long Chen, leaning against the window and watching the world pass by them. You, Bai Shi had an urge to slap him. How is the #1 figure of the High Firmament Academy so petty? It's just a cup of tea. Just pretend it was broken and thrown away. What? Do you think using your cup is like kissing you? Then since we're all breathing the same air, isn't that even more intimate? Said Long Chen. As expected of a scoundrel, spat out Bai Shi. You've managed to establish your fame with this battle. You're probably the #1 figure of the High Firmament Academy's junior generation now. That's why you don't care about me, huh? What kind of joke is that? You didn't even activate your bloodline power in that battle, but you already managed to fight evenly against those 4. If you had gone all out, then even without me, you would have dominated them. I'm still not a match for you. I at least know my own limit, said Long Chen. Bai Shi was surprised. She hadn't expected him to be humble and even see through her holding back. She frowned. If the two of them had split up, wouldn't they have managed to obtain more treasures? If you knew that I had that power, why join me? Because although you're powerful, your head isn't flexible enough. I was worried about you suffering, said Long Chen indifferently. When Bai Shi's expression sank, Long Chen waved his hand. Don't refuse to admit it. With Chu Yang's character, he wouldn't go directly against you if he wished to kill you. He would definitely use your subordinates. Considering your temperament, your heart would definitely be thrown into chaos if you watched as your subordinates were killed. That would definitely reveal many weak points for them to take advantage of. Once that assassin from the Bloodkill Hall grasped that chance, you would have to pay a price. If it wasn't for Chu Yang or a schemer present, I wouldn't have bothered you. With your combat power, you aren't inferior to Chu Yang, but in terms of treachery, you aren't a match for him. Bai Shirshi's expression softened. It was true. The most dangerous ones amongst them weren't Zhao Wuzheng or Chu Yang. It was that assassin that they had eliminated from the start. In terms of true combat power, if neither side was holding back, then even in a 1 against 7, she didn't fear them. But if she fell for one of their sinister schemes, she would have to hold a grudge. Thank you. After a moment of silence, Bai Shirshir also sat and thanked him. What did you say? I didn't hear you. Long Chen raised a hand to his ear and tilted his ear to her. Bai Shirshir furiously grabbed Long Chen's collar and shouted into his ear, "Do you hear me now?" Suddenly, Bai Shirshir found that she was getting easy to anger. Seeing that smile on Long Chen's face, she realized that she had fallen for it. The two of them were almost pressed together, so she hastily let go of him. A slight redness appeared on her face. "All right, I won't tease you. Let me ask you, how should we cough?" Long Chen suddenly went through a coughing fit. Blood dripped out of his mouth. Bai Shirshir suddenly recalled that after that battle, Long Chen's body was riddled with wounds. It was just that he acted like he was fine, causing her to forget about his condition. She then hastily took out a medicinal pill and gave it to him. Long Chen saw that it was a very precious healing pill that was probably at the 3rd tier. Long Chen shook his head. "Thank you. Medicinal pills are useless because this isn't the wound of the body." Chu Yang summoned the Daynight divine radiance that contained the will of fallen Daynight. My will clashed with that will, resulting in a Dao wound. Long Chen had his own medicinal pills, and the primal chaos space had the ability to heal him. But Chu Yang's attack contained the will of a supreme god. That was the real issue. Who asked you to act so nonchalant? If you had said something, I would have helped block that attack. But you acted so indomitable that it made me think that you had enough assurance. Bai Shirshir shook her head. She had almost interfered. But Long Chen had seemed completely confident, as if everything was within his control, so she hadn't. That was because even for her, blocking such an attack would come at an immense price. Back then, she was the final insurance, the one in charge of stopping the unpredictable. That was why she had to hold back, to be able to handle any unexpected changes. If both of them used up all their trump cards, then if their opponent still had a card left, that would leave them with no hope. Ah, don't mention that. It was a miscalculation. I almost lost my life because of it, said Long Chen helplessly. Let's not talk about such depressing matters. Will the Academy be holding us accountable for killing so many people? Most definitely they will be holding people accountable. The 5 powers lost their elite disciples, and the Golden Bell Gate was completely destroyed. The remaining 4 powers will definitely come to make a fuss out of this. But I trust that the Academy won't bother with them. They won't get what they want even if they come, said Bai Shirshir. I want to ask you, since those fellows are followers of Lord Brahma and fallen Daynight, will our actions infuriate Lord Brahma and cause him to directly destroy our High Firmament Academy? Probed Long Chen. No, you're overthinking it. Lord Brahma is one of the immortal world's supreme experts. He has believers throughout the 9 heavens and 10 lands. Second-rate powers like the Golden Bell Gate, 9 Cauldron Church, Silver Moon City, Clear River Palace, and the like are nothing more than ants amongst Lord Brahma's followers. They can't even count as dogs. They aren't even big enough powers and only dare to challenge our High Firmament Academy due to Lord Brahma's support behind them. Lord Brahma has always wanted to subdue our High Firmament Academy, but the High Firmament Academy has always rejected him, resulting in his dissatisfaction. His disciples are the ones most dissatisfied and are constantly sending idiots to cause trouble for us. The Academy normally doesn't bother with them, But for them to dare to try to kill me this time, humph, they really are courting death. Long Chen had a thought and said, maybe you should tell the dean about this. We can lead people to wipe out the remaining powers as well. To tell the truth, I made 2 mistakes this time. One is miscalculating my own power, while the other is miscalculating Shi Tongtian's power. I wanted him to slaughter those experts, and then you could use your metal energy to find the underground treasury. But we didn't get any treasures. To tell the truth, I'm still vexed. My stomach hurts, it's almost an internal injury. I urgently need some treasures to settle my heart. Bai Shi glanced at him scornfully. Don't try to use me. Let me tell you, Xiaola and I don't get special treatment. All our resources are earned by ourselves. Although the dean is our grandfather, we're treated like ordinary disciples. I'm not able to affect how the higher-ups deal with this matter. I can only guess. Long Chen deflated when he heard this. Really? Then I'm not getting anything other than all these wounds? I'm really unwilling. I've never suffered such a loss in this lifetime. The 5 Powers elite disciples were all killed, and you wiped out the Golden Bell Gate. You've managed to make a name for yourself with this battle. What else do you want? Demanded by Shi irritably. It would be best to gain fame and fortune. I want both. I'm simply greedy, sighed Long Chen. You really are too greedy. We found the headquarters of the Starry River sect this time and have gained so many murals. Although there's no way to estimate their value yet, I believe that every single one of us will obtain a huge amount of points once we return to the academy. The academy's foundation isn't something you can imagine. As long as you have enough points, you can exchange them for unbelievable treasures. Some of those treasures are even more valuable than the whole Golden Bell Gate. The ones in the treasuries that you've seen are only the lowest level ones, said Bai Shi. Long Chen's heart started pounding wildly. A single treasure could be more valuable than a sect? What kind of treasure was that? Was your golden war chariot also exchanged with points? Asked Long Chen. What do you think? That I stole it? Demanded Bai Shi. Long Chen tapped a nail and awkwardly laughed. Fine, I admit that I underestimated the High Firmament Academy. I'll work harder on getting points in the future. While looking at a mountain river passing by them rapidly out the window, a solemn light appeared in Bai Shi's eyes. She said, the 9 Prefecture Convention is about to start. The other powers similar to the Golden Bell Gate, Clear River Palace, and the like will launch an attack on us at that time. Someone is definitely directing them. I suspect that Lord Brahma will use the 9 Prefecture Convention this time to wipe out his dissidents. At that time, the 9 Prefecture Convention will turn into a bloodbath. Long Chen, I hope that you can quickly increase your cultivation base. The 2 of us must get into the top 10 so that... Bai Shi suddenly realized that Long Chen didn't react to her words at all. Hence, she looked over and saw that he was leaning against the window, asleep. Vexation bubbled up within Bai Shi. She was talking seriously, but he fell asleep. But seeing his worn-down face and cracked lips, her heart softened. There was no need to doubt Long Chen's power. If they had worked together, they would have had the power to resist their enemies. But then Long Chen had racked his brains to set up arrangements to wipe out their enemies, all to make sure that more people would leave this place alive. If she had led them, although she was confident that they still would have won, she was unable to achieve that level of absolute control. Something unexpected could cause a large number of casualties. Even if they won, it would be a miserable victory. Long Chen had said that his habit was to get the greatest gains with the smallest price. What he had said, he had done. Looking at Long Chen, she suddenly found that this devil was actually like an innocent child when he was peaceful. It almost gave her an urge to protect him. Eventually, Long Chen felt the chariot was at a stop. He opened his eyes but found that they hadn't reached the academy. Feeling startled, he asked, "Is someone chasing us?" "It's fine. We've entered the High Firmament Academy's barrier. I stopped the chariot to let you rest longer." Bai Shi turned from the window and looked at him. "Good." Long Chen took a deep breath and sighed. He then rubbed his face, feeling so much better after that sleep. "What are you looking at me for?" Long Chen cocked his head at Bai Shirshir. She seemed to be wearing a smile that was not a smile. Bai Shirshir said, "You were acting weird in your sleep. Sometimes you cried, sometimes you laughed. Like you're a fool." "Nonsense," said Long Chen. But his words lacked confidence. "Not only that, but you were also talking. You shouted many names." Bai Shirshir leaned closer toward Long Chen. Her eyes were like stars staring at Long Chen, as if wishing to see through his secrets. "Are you getting so close because you want me to kiss you? I didn't expect that you were such a person." Long Chen looked at her guardedly. Bai Shirshir was a bit angry, but she quickly smiled. "I know you're just trying to anger me. So I won't get angry." "What did I say in my sleep?" asked Long Chen. "I'm not telling you." Bai Shirshir raised her eyebrows and smiled mischievously. It was as if she had won, so she was delighted. "So you were just lying?" Long Chen snorted disdainfully. "Is that so? Tell me, who is Chu Yao? Who is Meng Zhi?" Bai Shirshir grew even more pleased. Long Chen started. Was he really sleep-talking? How else would she know those names? He had no idea what he had said in his sleep, or if he had divulged any secrets. Long Chen's bewildered expression drew out Bai Shirshir's laughter. She smiled brilliantly. That feeling of success was even more delightful than when she had awoken her divine abilities. Long Chen wanted to figure out what he had said, but how could he have known that he had actually only said Chu Yao and Meng Qi, and that was it? The crafty light in her eyes made Long Chen feel strange. "You have so many women. I don't understand how a weirdo like you got so many women to fall for you. Do they have a problem with their aesthetics?" asked Bai Shirshir. Long Chen clenched his teeth. She was getting payback for his teasing. But who was he? He knew just what to do. He eyed Bai Shirshir and indifferently said, "My charisma is simply amazing. I don't dare to show my strong points to others now. It would be best if you get further away from me, or if you end up falling for me as well, you'd be doomed. All my women are as beautiful as heavenly fairies and have peerless aptitude. With your looks and talent, you'd probably only be able to become a bed warmer." However, Bai Shirshir didn't get angry. She smiled. "I have a bit of confidence in my looks and talent. You won't be able to anger me like that. Furthermore, I, Bai Shirshir, dislike men, especially such unfaithful, fickle men. As long as a woman is strong enough, she has no need for the life form known as a man. I can't be bothered to argue with a child's perspective," said Long Chen. It seemed that Bai Shirshir had a problem in her heart. She had a certain prejudice against men. According to Bai Xiaola, she was also extremely cold to her father. They almost never spoke. Bai Shirshir sent the chariot flying toward the academy. The academy quickly received word, and Luo Bing, Luo Ning, Mu Qingyun, Bai Xiaola, and the others all came to welcome them. Millions of inner academy disciples cheered for their return. It had already been 2 days since Bai Xiaola and the others had returned to the academy. Hence, the shocking battle of the Jialan Immortal Land had already been spread to all the other disciples with the most brilliant narratives. That battle was innately an extremely heart-moving story, but through their words and additions, Bai Shirshir and Long Chen were described as peerless battle gods who had descended to wipe out their enemies. Just 1 day ago, the High Firmament Academy received word that the Golden Bell Gate had been wiped out. It was forever gone from this world. Bai Xiaola declared that it was definitely done by Long Chen. Long Chen had the Heaven-Merging Stone Spirit, and this trump card had yet to be used. Hearing that Long Chen had wiped out the entire Golden Bell Gate, these disciples grew even more admiring of him. Long Chen was too domineering. He didn't only kill all the disciples of the 5 powers, but he even chased them back to their nest and wiped them out. His revenge didn't wait for a single night. Just how domineering was that? Thus, when people received word that Bai Shirshir's chariot had returned, all the inner academy's disciples almost came out. This was the welcome of the returning heroes. "Are you very moved?" asked Bai Shirshir. "It's all right. I'm used to it." Long Chen waved his hand. At this time, the Heaven Female Alliance's disciples swarmed over Bai Shirshir. They were extremely moved to see that she was safe and sound. It could be seen just how important she was in their hearts. Bai Shirshir comforted them and directly left just like that with them. She didn't even say goodbye to Long Chen, as if she didn't know him. "Boss, are you all right?" Bai Xiaola supported Long Chen, seeing that he was still a bit pale. "It's fine. I suffered a minor injury against the master of the Golden Bell Gate." "It's not important," said Long Chen without reddening in the slightest. In any case, no matter what he said, Bai Xiaola would believe it. But Luo Bing was aware that he was just bragging. Anyway, they were all relieved to see him return alive. "Senior apprentice brother Long Chen, the fact that we could return alive is all thanks to you." "This favor," said an inner academy disciple who rushed over emotionally. "You're wrong. You returned alive thanks to yourself. After all, at that time, you chose to believe me. That required its own courage. You made the correct choice at the right time, and you all heroically slew your enemies on the battlefield. Every single one of you is a hero. This victory doesn't belong to any one person. It belongs to all of us, including the warriors of the High Firmament Academy who fought to the death. You are all the future pillars of the Academy. The fact that you didn't fall during that battle also indicates that you are raising the flag of the High Firmament Academy's resurgence. Work hard, brothers." These words moved them immensely, so they let out heaven-shaking cheers. Long Chen's words were the greatest acknowledgement. To receive the acknowledgement of an expert like Long Chen was their life's greatest honor. In the distance, Heaven Master Yun Yang, Heaven Master Dong Ming, the head judge, and the others watched. Heaven Master Yun Yang smiled. "Some people are natural leaders. They possess a charisma that makes others willing to fight to the death for them. Such a charisma is simply innate. Although Shi is powerful, ultimately her talent lies in being a general, not the commander-in-chief." An elder came running over. "Reporting to Heaven Master, the Vice Dean requests to see you. He says that the Clear River Palace, Nine Cauldron Church, Silver Moon City, and Amethyst Heart Island's big figures have come." "Oh." Heaven Master Yun Yang and the others exchanged a look. He smiled. "All right, now there will be a good show." Other than that, the Vice Dean said that he won't be receiving them. "If you are also unwilling to receive them, he says that you can choose a suitable person instead," said the elder. "Choose a suitable person?" Heaven Master Yun Yang was startled. They all looked at the distant Long Chen and then started laughing. Long Chen returned to the headquarters of the Luo Gate with an escort of countless inner academy disciples. Seeing that Long Chen's aura was still a bit weak, they didn't want to keep him for too long, so they tactfully left. After all, he needed to recover. The headquarters of the Luo Gate was previously destroyed by Bai Xiaola's father, and was now reconstructed to be even grander than before. There, Long Chen asked, "What happened to those bastards from the Chu family?" Luo Bing smiled. "Chu Yang schemed to kill Bai Shi. That's gravely against the Academy's rules." The dean was infuriated and captured everyone from the Chu family's side. Curiously, when we entered the Jialan Immortal Land, many of the Chu family's higher-ups secretly left the Academy, but somehow, they were dragged back. Not one managed to escape. Long Chen sneered. The Chu family treated the Academy's higher-ups as idiots, without realizing that they were the true fools. Every single one of their movements were under the Academy's gaze. The Academy hadn't put them in their place because they had their own goals. Now that they tried to run away, they really were dreaming. Through the battle of the Jialan Immortal Land, Long Chen truly saw just how wily the Academy's old foxes were. They weren't easily moved to action, but once they did, then the Chu family's people could only die. The Chu family is probably going to be ripped out by their roots this time. However, while everyone has been caught, they haven't been executed yet. "No one knows what the higher-ups are thinking," said Luo Bing. "Whether they kill them or not is no longer important. Those people of the Chu family are essentially dead already. In any case, they're nothing more than pawns. If they're lost, then they're lost. The Chu family won't cause trouble for the Academy just for those people. The higher-ups must have their own reasons for not killing them. There's no need for us to worry. In any case, on this battlefield, the Chu family can be said to have fully lost. Congratulations, junior sister Luo Bing. You've managed to win for the Luo family," said Long Chen. The Luo family and the Chu family were mortal enemies. A large root of the Chu family had been ripped out this time. It was good news to the Luo family. From this moment, the Chu family would no longer have any power in the High Firmament Academy, while the Luo family's disciples could freely set roots here. Luo Bing had an urge to say some modest words, but considering how close they were, there was no need for her to act courteous. Chu Yang was slain. The Chu family's power in the academy had been ripped out. Her grievance and resentment over Luo Qingyang also mostly faded. At least with this, she could give an explanation to the family. Boss, not good. My father. He asked me to go over to him tomorrow. Bai Xiaola ran over, pale with fear. Long Chen sighed inside. Last time, due to him, their power transfer was interrupted midway. In order to guarantee that Bai Xiaola's cultivation didn't regress, his father had to give him another beating. What a pitiful father and mother. No father and mother didn't cherish their own child. Last time, if it hadn't been for Long Chen, Bai Xiaola's beating would have lasted him at least half a year. However, now, after only a short time, Bai Xiaola needed another beating. Long Chen had been busy with the 9 Prefecture Convention and the Jialan Immortal Land, so he hadn't had time to properly study Bai Xiaola's condition. He could only allow him to be beaten again. Don't be afraid. Give me your ear. Let me teach you a move. Long Chen whispered something into Bai Xiaola's ear. Bai Xiaola was bewildered after he heard it. Boss, will this really work? Don't worry. A human's heart is made out of flesh. Worst case, it will just hurt both sides. Just who is afraid of who? Said Long Chen confidently. All right, since I can't avoid it, I'll try it, said Bai Xiaola, running off. Once Bai Xiaola left, Long Chen asked about the losses of this battle. Through Luo Bing, his guess was confirmed. When the Chu family was ripped out of the academy, many hidden helpers were also exposed. When Long Chen had sent out the signal to gather, the majority of those who hadn't come were actually the Chu family's henchmen. Those people had already been conned to death. Clearly, the Chu family's methods were extremely vicious. They wanted to wipe out all the talented youngsters of this generation. They were truly brazen. The disciples that Long Chen had managed to gather were those that the Chu family didn't care about. It was precisely due to this that they managed to escape with their lives. Learning this, those disciples were even more grateful towards Long Chen. Without him, all of them would have died inside. Considering how strong Long Chen and Bai Shishir were, Zhao Wuzheng and the others wouldn't have been able to kill them. All of Long Chen's arrangements were to save them. It was just as he said, using the smallest price to get the greatest gains. Although Bai Shishir was the #1 junior of the High Firmament Academy, after this battle, it was now Long Chen who the Inner Academy's disciples were filled with gratitude and worship towards. Compared to the aloof Bai Shishir, Long Chen actually saved them. That was enough to make them wish to follow Long Chen. Boss. Just after a while, Bai Xiaola came running back. When he entered, he suddenly coughed up a mouthful of blood, causing everyone to jump in alarm. Xiaola! Mu Qingyun hastily supported him. He was covered in blood, with many areas where even his bones were sticking out. It was as if his body had already been deformed. It was completely vicious. Those wounds gave others chills. Seeing his miserable state, Long Chen angrily said, "He beat you into this state even after you said what I told you to say?" Bai Xiaola cried, "That's right. He's not even human, right? Boss, what you taught me, I said it wrong, and he immediately beat me into this state. He's a demon." "What did Long Chen tell you to say?" asked Luo Bing. "Boss said that when he's about to beat me I should say, 'Dad, have you eaten yet? I'll make you some food.' Boss said that by saying this, his heart would be too soft to be so vicious." "How did you say it wrong?" asked Luo Bing immediately. It ended up being, "Dad, have you eaten yet?" And then, Bai Xiaola wept so hard that he had no words. Long Chen, Luo Bing, Luo Ning, Mu Qingyun, and the others were speechless. Long Chen shook his head. This child was actually quite thoughtful. Afraid his father would feel mentally burdened, he hadn't been able to say those words. Just as Bai Xiaola was weeping, Heaven Master Yunyang arrived. He brought with him a middle-aged woman. That woman walked over to Long Chen and placed a hand on his shoulder. A grand Dao flower bloomed behind her. It revolved, and Long Chen was shocked to find that his injuries instantly healed. The remnant god will inside his body was completely expelled. Long Chen instantly reached his peak condition. He couldn't help looking at that woman in shock. She smiled slightly. "All right, I've fulfilled my mission. Junior apprentice brother Yun Yang, I'll take my leave." Once she left, Heaven Master Yun Yang smiled at Long Chen. "I asked my senior apprentice sister who was in seclusion to come out to heal your wounds. Now you need to help me out with something." There were dozens of elders sitting in a palace hall, their expressions gloomy. They were from the Clear River Palace, Silver Moon City, Nine Cauldron Church, and Amethyst Heart Island. Not one of their disciples had returned, so they were here to demand an explanation. Other than them, there was one particular middle-aged man. A sharp light shone in his eyes, and he stood out amongst these elders. This person was not an expert from those four powers. He came from the Chu family as their representative. There was also another particular person in black robes, his cloak covering most of his face. Even so, the wrinkles on his face showed that he was not young. His aura was strange, sometimes it was there and sometimes it wasn't. It was as if he might vanish at any moment. This was an expert from the Bloodkill Hall. People from the Clear River Palace, Silver Moon City, Nine Cauldron Furnace, Amethyst Heart Island, Chu family, and Bloodkill Hall had all come. However, even after waiting a long time, no one from the academy came to receive them. Just as they were growing impatient, someone made an announcement. "The High Firmament Academy's Heaven Master Long Chen has arrived." The black-robed Long Chen walked in with his hands clasped behind his back. He swaggered in with a large escort. Behind him were Heaven Master Yun Yang, Heaven Master Dong Ming, the head judge, as well as some other higher-ups. Behind them were Luo Bing, Luo Ning, a barely mobile Bai Xiaola, and the others. In front of their astonished gazes, Long Chen swaggered over to those people, looking down on them arrogantly. His expression was one full of disdain. When Long Chen arrived in front of the expert from the Bloodkill Hall, he suddenly swung his hand. It then landed firmly on that person's face. He clearly hadn't expected Long Chen to attack, so his hood was destroyed, revealing an extremely ordinary old face. "What is this? To dare conceal yourself in front of Boss Long San, are you tired of living?" After slapping him, Long Chen returned to his previous exceedingly arrogant expression. The elder's face swelled. Killing intent exploded out of him. He was one of the higher-ups from the Bloodkill Hall. He hadn't expected this novice to be so brazen. Furthermore, this novice's hand was as quick as lightning, striking without any warning. Even this terrifying assassin that walked the line between life and death was unable to dodge it. "Ignorant junior, do you believe me when I say that I'll kill you right here?" shouted the elder. "Do you believe me when I say that if I give the order, all of you will lose your heads here?" sneered Long Chen, completely ignoring his harsh killing intent. Heaven Master Yun Yang told him that he was in charge of receiving these people, so he could do whatever he wanted with them. With so many experts on the level of Heaven Masters guarding him, why would he be afraid? At the same time, he learned that the Academy was not afraid of them at all. The higher-ups just couldn't be bothered with them and didn't want to waste time on them. That was why they let him come out. One reason was that Long Chen was a witness to the events and so had a right to speak. But the other reason was a campaign for him to serve as a foundation for the Nine Prefecture Convention, so that he would have certain fame and prestige when he attended. With such a privilege, if he didn't take proper advantage of it, he wouldn't be Long Chen. "What are you talking about?" One of the Clear River Palace's elders stood up. However, just as he stood, Long Chen slapped him. Unexpectedly, he spun twice through the air before falling. "When Boss Long San is speaking, do you think you can just interrupt?" asked Long Chen arrogantly. Heaven Master Yun Yang, Heaven Master Dong Ming, the head judge, and the others exchanged a glance. They were all full of shock. It had to be known that these old fellows were all extremely powerful existences. Their cultivation bases were many levels above Long Chen's, and they all possessed sharp combat instincts as well. However, neither the elder from the Clear River Palace nor the old assassin from the Bloodkill Hall was able to dodge his seemingly ordinary slap. This move was truly shocking. These two slaps fully established Long Chen's dominance. Now, all the experts' expressions changed. Their hands instinctively reached toward their weapons. It seemed that they would attack at any moment. What a pack of fools. I'll give you to the count of 3. If you're still in such an idiotic posture, I, Boss Long San, swear to the heavens that not one of you will leave alive, said Long Chen disdainfully. 1, 2. Long Chen directly started counting. Just as he was about to say 3, those experts clenched their teeth and retracted their hands from their weapons. Long Chen sneered. He then swaggered over to the throne of the room, looking down arrogantly on them. Crossing his legs, he received a cup of tea from Mu Qingyan. After he took a sip, he indifferently said, "Speak. What are you here for?" This disdain and arrogance completely infuriated those experts. They didn't know what the High Firmament Academy was doing. Heaven Master Yunyang and the others made them afraid of attacking. Furthermore, this was the High Firmament Academy's territory, so they didn't dare to run rampant. They had no choice but to accept this humiliation. "Who are you to represent the High Firmament Academy?" asked the middle-aged man from the Chu family. "You look human, so how did you say something so dog-like?" "I came here just to represent the Academy in resolving its problems. Otherwise, do you think I would be so bored as to accompany a pack of fools like you?" said Long Chen. "You." That expert from the Chu family almost coughed up blood. "Fine, since you represent the High Firmament Academy, we can talk fairly. We represent Divine Venerate Brahma to ask you, where did the High Firmament Academy get the guts to annihilate the experts of the 5 powers, lowering the number of believers of the Divine Venerate?" Long Chen smiled. Right at the start, this guy took out the card known as Lord Brahma? Was he trying to scare kids? "That's right, the High Firmament Academy must give us an explanation today," shouted an expert from the Silver Moon City. "Don't think that the High Firmament Academy is unrivaled. Let me tell you, if you infuriate Divine Venerate Brahma, your High Firmament Academy will be turned to dust," sneered an expert from the Amethyst Heart Island. "What nonsense! Who do you think you are? Do you not know how worthless you are? Do you think the High Firmament Academy is full of fools? How can the likes of you represent Divine Venerate Brahma? Let me put it to you this way. I can give the order to kill all of you, and Lord Brahma won't say a word to the High Firmament Academy about it. If you don't believe me, let's try it right now." Long Chen patted his throne, and the palace hall's runes lit up. Divine runes condensed into sharp swords pointed at those experts, causing their expressions to change. Long Chen had activated the palace hall's formation. Even if the people in front of him were 10 times stronger than they would still be instantly wiped out. Those experts' expressions changed. In that instant, all their lives were held in Long Chen's hands. Those sharp swords hovered in the air. With just a single move from Long Chen, all of them would die. Long Chen stood and coldly said, "I said that you're nothing more than ants beneath Lord Brahma. Even if I kill you, Lord Brahma won't wage war against the High Firmament Academy. If you don't believe it, then stand up. I'll kill one just to show everyone. We can treat it as an experiment, all right?" An experiment? An experiment with their lives? Anyone who wasn't tired of living yet would naturally refuse such an experiment. Their expressions were ugly, but no one dared to make a sound. Luo Bing and the others were standing behind Long Chen and couldn't help finding it funny. As expected, evil people were best handled by even more evil people. Only once he saw that they didn't dare to even fart did he slowly say, "You ants really are funny. You conspired to kill my academy's heavenly geniuses, and when your plan was ruined, despite only having yourselves to blame, you actually had the shamelessness to come demand an explanation from the High Firmament Academy. My guess is that there was someone behind the scenes directing you for the strategy in the Jalan Immortal Land. But your current actions are the result of your own intelligence. None of you understand the High Firmament Academy. You don't know just how powerful the High Firmament Academy is. A wily fox wouldn't order a bunch of rabbits to demand an explanation from a tiger. Based on your expressions, I can see that I'm right. Then let me just brazenly guess that amongst your rabbits, the ringleader is this one. Long Chen pointed at the expert from the Chu family, infuriating him. You go too far. No, no, compared to you conspiring to kill our disciples and then demanding an explanation from us, how could anyone dare to say that we're going too far? Long Chen laughed indifferently. Heaven Master Yun Yang and the others nodded inside. If they weren't completely sure about Long Chen's age, they really would suspect he was an old demon inside a youngster's shell. He was in complete control over everyone here, and every word struck them in their vitals. From their subtle changes in expressions, it was possible to tell that his guesses were definitely correct. Although these higher-ups had also expected such a thing, they definitely wouldn't be able to act as confidently as Long Chen did about it. Just from this display, they felt that Long Chen would do even better than any of them in the 9 Prefecture Convention. Picking him was the wisest choice. You, shut up. Long Chen shouted suddenly, I don't have time to argue with you. You should bless your luck that I am not the dean, or ants like you would have been wiped out. Actually, I'd have wiped out your sex already. Lord Brahma's subordinates actually dare to fart in front of me? Who gave you that courage? Long Chen walked up to them, pacing in front of them, pointing at their noses and cursing. All of you are like dogs, your heads packed with shit. You have faith in Lord Brahma, but Lord Brahma treats you like pawns. You shut up. Long Chen slapped the expert from the Chu family, interrupting and finishing his words. Courting death. That expert's fury soared, but just as his aura rose, dozens of sharp swords pierced his body. Blood speckled the palace. That expert instantly turned still, not daring to move. An ant trying to shake a tree. How laughable. The formation here is able to instantly wipe you out 1,000 times. I thought that the Chu family relied on sinister schemes to survive? Why would they produce an idiot like you? Asked Long Chen. At the same time, he sighed in amazement inside over how powerful the Academy's formations were. Bai Shishir had told him that he couldn't imagine just how powerful the Academy's foundation was. Now, through some clues, he finally saw through a corner of this immense existence. It was truly far stronger than he had expected. However, it had been constantly concealing its power. Long Chen walked over to the Chu family's expert. Just as he was about to slap him a few times, his heart skipped a beat. This aura. From this expert, Long Chen sensed the slightest trace of a barely discernible aura. That aura was incredibly familiar to him. It's the aura of the primal chaos bead. Long Chen instantly thought of Long Aotian. He hadn't killed the latter on the martial heaven continent. Instead, he had fed him a poison pill to serve as a marker so that he could lead Long Chen to the Long family. When this Chu family's expert's blood splashed, Long Chen sensed the aura of the primal chaos bead. That was the marker he had placed on Long Aotian. So Long Aotian is likely in the Chu family. Perhaps he is still staying there for a while. Perhaps the Chu family people could counter the poison pill. But they were definitely unable to expel the power of the black soil. It seemed that they had used multiple experts to dilute the power of the black soil. As long as the people to absorb it were strong enough and they had enough numbers, the black soil's power would no longer have any effect. The bindings on Long Aotian had actually been undone like this. No wonder Long Chen had been unable to sense what direction Long Aotian was in despite raising his cultivation base. This expert in front of him had definitely helped Long Aotian dispel the poison pill. Long Chen had not expected Long Aotian to be viewed so highly by the Chu family. Interesting. Long Chen smiled sinisterly. He hadn't expected to find a trail toward Long Aotian today. It seemed that he had underestimated Long Aotian. For him to be viewed so importantly, it couldn't just be due to his status. Perhaps his body had some unknown secret. However, he didn't know if Long Aotian would be attending the 9 Prefecture Convention. Long Chen then waved his hands, and those swords retracted from the Chu family's expert's body. His blood once more splattered the palace hall. This is a diplomatic exchange. Killing ants would make others say that we're bullying the weak, so I will simply give you a warning this time. A person can be stupid, but do your best to leave a way out for your descendants at least, or you will very likely follow the footsteps of the Golden Bell Gate. The Golden Bell Gate was destroyed, But whoever is directing you didn't even say a word. Yet you had the guts to run over here and be stupid. You really are tired of life. Furthermore, you have your own competitors in your own powers for your positions. I'm sure you're the ones who know the most about that. When you go back, you should think about why you were the ones sent here and not them. Using your lives to test the attitude of the academy? It seems your higher-ups really value you, laughed Long Chen. His last words caused their expressions to change. They seemed to think of something. Scram. Long Chen lazily waved his hand. As a result, those people hastily slipped away like a pack of beaten dogs, not even daring to raise their heads. Well done. Once those people left, Heaven Master Yun Yang and the others clapped for Long Chen. He had handled things perfectly. He had given them a vicious lesson but also knew not to go too far. Junior was just messing around. Long Chen said some courteous words. He was about to say something to Heaven Master Yun Yang when another elder suddenly ran in and handed a golden card to Heaven Master Yun Yang. Looking at the card, he smiled slightly and handed it to Long Chen. The invitation card to the 9 Prefecture Convention has arrived. The High Firmament Academy's instructor corps will be depending on you to win us some face. The golden invitation card had some information on the 9 Prefecture Convention, including the time, length, and location. It also requested a reply detailing the number of people from the Academy participating in the Dao discussion and the martial competition. The martial competition is 2 months from now? It's so soon? Long Chen was surprised. Time always felt like it was slipping past him quickly. These 2 months were quite a short time for the current Long Chen. Your cultivation base is growing too slowly. With such a cultivation base, to tell the truth, we don't really recommend that you participate in the martial competition, said Heaven Master Dong Ming. The 9 Prefecture Convention would be a gathering of heavenly geniuses. At that time, those heavenly geniuses would have their cultivation bases at the peak of the Divine Flame Realm. But Long Chen was still in the initial Divine Flame Realm. He hadn't even reached the first Heavenstage. In the Divine Flame Realm, every single level caused one's power to change immensely. The 9 Prefecture Convention would be full of powerful opponents, and there might even be awakened primals. Long Chen's realm was too low to fight them. After all, the likes of Zhao Wuzheng, Xie Tianyu, Lu Chunyang, and the others would only be second-rate experts. Even Bai Shishir would only be classified as being in the front ranking, and a primal that had awakened their bloodline would be a first-rate expert. No matter what Long Chen did during these 2 months, there was no way that his cultivation base could catch up. Heaven Master Dong Ming seemed to be saying that Long Chen should focus on the Dao discussion and simply give up on the martial competition. Heaven Master Dong Ming, are you not worried about the Battle God Palace causing trouble for you if you say such a thing? Said the head judge with a smile. Heaven Master Dong Ming coughed awkwardly and said, Of course. This is just a suggestion. You can decide for yourself. After all, the martial competition was arranged by the Battle God Palace. They wouldn't be happy with Heaven Master Dong Ming if he persuaded Long Chen to back out. Long Chen smiled slightly. Senior's words are heavy. Junior is well aware of the problem. However, I can't miss such a good opportunity. Victory is victory, defeat is defeat. If I am defeated, I will be able to see where I am lacking. That's not a bad thing. Excellent. Such an attitude is good, said Heaven Master Dong Ming. Senior Yun Yang, can you introduce me to the senior who healed me? I want to properly thank her. I also want her to teach me some things, said Long Chen. The one who had healed him this time was Heaven Master Yun Yang's senior apprentice sister. It seemed that her position in the academy had to be quite high. She didn't usually reveal herself. However, she healed him to give Heaven Master Yun Yang face. This person was an extremely powerful wood cultivator. Originally, Long Chen had thought that fallen Daynight's god will couldn't be wiped out by external forces. However, she had easily done so. Furthermore, Long Chen had sensed an extremely primal wood energy in her. He thought of a certain possibility, so he requested to meet her. After that, Heaven Master Yun Yang brought him to an immortal cave. After reporting their arrival and obtaining permission, Long Chen entered. The middle-aged woman seemed to have a smile in her eyes. It was as if she was seeing through his heart. What kind of benefits are you looking for this time? Long Chen was surprised to have his intentions read. He said, Junior felt that Senior's wood energy should be a kind of source energy amongst the trees of the world. Thus, I wish to ask Senior whether it is possible for me to obtain the object of that source. You're very impressed to be able to tell that my wood energy isn't ordinary after a single healing. When I was young, I had a fortuitous encounter and found a wood foundation divine fruit. Using its essence, I was able to change my bloodline, awakening the wood foundation divine radiance. Thus, my wood energy is different from other wood cultivators. Wood foundation divine radiance. You are a primal? Asked Long Chen. Someone who could awaken a divine radiance could only be a primal. She nodded. I can barely count as an acquired primal since this talent was not innate to me. After I absorbed the fruit, the pit was all that remained. There are 4 seeds in the pit containing its essence. Consuming a single one can heal someone on the border of death. If you want one, I can give you one. But if you want more, then I can't. Just one is enough. Long Chen was delighted. He hadn't expected this senior to be so generous and directly give him something so precious. The wood foundation divine tree was from ancient times. Its wood was extremely tough, tougher than metal. The wooden spears made from it were often used as weapons. However, its growth was extremely slow. It took 30 million years to flower, 30 million years to bear fruit, and 30 million years for the fruit to mature. From its birth to its fruit being ripe took 90 million years. In the current era, this tree was almost extinct. It could not be found in the outside world. There were only some sects that had some, and they were viewed as their priceless treasures. They were often kept secret as well in order to avoid others growing covetous. Long Chen obtained a peanut-sized seed that looked like a cashew nut. It emitted an immense amount of life energy. Those fluctuations refreshed him, filling him with energy. It was as if his longevity was increasing just by holding it. This was the seed of the wood foundation divine tree. Long Chen profusely thanked the senior before leaving. At his residence, he carefully planted it in the primal chaos space. After that, Long Chen's 108,000 stars circulated, sending divine energy into the primal chaos space. The medicinal plants inside crazily grew. Time seemed to have increased by tens of thousands of times. After gaining control of his divine flames, he could once more urge the growth of the plants in the primal chaos space. But after 2 hours, he was sweating. This was extremely taxing. However, he was delighted to find that the wood foundation divine tree had taken root. A tiny soft shoot had appeared out of the ground, standing up like a chopstick and continuing to grow. Once it reached a height of 3 meters, it was the thickness of an egg but still remained one single, straight stick. It didn't have any leaves or branches. Breaking this sapling, he found that it was extremely heavy in his hand, like steel. It was very tough despite this being its weakest sapling state. Long Chen broke it into pieces and planted 1/2 foot tall rods into the soil again. After another hour, a radiant smile appeared on his face. Small saplings were now growing. Long Chen then spent a whole day and night breaking and planting the wood foundation divine trees. His primal chaos space was now full of saplings. Now I don't need to worry about being injured. Once they're grown up, what will I have to fear? Long Chen clenched his fists, an excited light in his eyes. Once they bloomed and bore fruit, he would essentially have an undying body. After that, Long Chen took out a long and thin strand. This was the divine whisker daffodil's whisker. 2 months? It's time to increase my cultivation base. Long Chen took out his medicinal furnace and got to work. The pill furnace shuddered, and its runes lit up before gradually going out. Long Chen smiled. Moon Refiner, your control is growing greater and greater. It really is great having you too. Hua Long and Moon Refiner were working together flawlessly. With Long Chen as well, practically not even a trace of the medicinal pill's energy leaked out. Their cooperation was so perfect that it couldn't even be described with words. The pill furnace opened, and 9 round medicinal pills appeared before Long Chen. They were dark and gloomy, almost looking dirty. They looked like medicinal balls, not medicinal pills. However, when he picked one up, he applied a bit of force, and that layer of grime shattered, revealing a crystalline pill. Within it were some slender life forms moving about. They were like tiny dragons swimming through the sea. As expected of the Divine Whisker Daffodil. With it as the main ingredient, the Divine Whisker Flame Spirit Pills is extremely gentle. The water dragon power within it can completely absorb the medicinal energy without the slightest waste. Normally, the Flame Spirit Pill is explosive and violent, but with the addition of the Divine Whisker Daffodil, that wild beast became an obedient rabbit. It's truly a priceless treasure, sighed Long Chen. The Divine Whisker Daffodil's effect was marvelous. It even surpassed his expectations. This pill, which was used to explosively raise a person's realm in the Divine Flame realm, normally had negative side effects. Other than a body being able to only absorb a limited amount of its power, the flame poison contained in the pill was particularly harmful. Consuming it in large amounts was taboo. The flame poison would attack the heart and invade the soul. Done badly, it could only lead to bedevilment. However, with the addition of the Divine Whisker Daffodil, the medicinal pill became extremely gentle, and no matter how many were consumed, there was no worry about flame poison. While water and flame could subdue each other, when used properly, they could actually support each other as well. The mysteries behind this phenomenon were still unclear to Long Chen. Long Chen consumed one of the Divine Whisker Flame Spirit Pills. It melted the moment it entered his throat and spread throughout every inch of his body. His 108,000 stars quivered slightly and absorbed that energy. A portion of the Divine Whisker Flame Spirit Pill's energy nourished his physical body, while another portion nourished his 108,000 stars. Long Chen could clearly feel his physical strength slowly rising. However, the energy that went to his stars was clearly insignificant. It was unable to even cause a ripple. It seems that the 9-star He-Gem Body art also knows that my physical body isn't strong enough. The majority of the energy is sent to my physical body to strengthen it, while only a small portion strengthens the stars. Long Chen consumed all 9 pills, and found that his 108,000 stars didn't change in the slightest afterwards. That made Long Chen sigh. Perhaps the amount of pills that he would require in the Divine Flame realm would be unprecedented. After all, nothing like this had happened before, where consuming 9 top-grade pills resulted in no discernible change. Long Chen refined pills as he consumed them. When he had consumed over 300 pills, his 108,000 stars finally shuddered. The flame seedlings on his stars split in 2. Divine flame energy burst forth, and if Long Chen didn't control it, that explosive aura would have destroyed this room that he was in. Second Heavenstage of Divine Flame. Long Chen's heart shook. His divine flames didn't grow with each realm. Instead, they split. Another ball of flames appeared on every star. Despite there being double the amount of divine flames, he sensed that his divine flame had multiplied many times. That power made even Long Chen feel fear. Is this heaven-defying? Advancing one heaven stage results in the divine flame power multiplying? In his battle against Chu Yang, Long Chen had unleashed his full power several times, but even when the Daynight divine radiance appeared, he still had most of his divine flame energy. If it was then multiplied with every advancement, his divine flame power would essentially be endless. He would never be able to use it all. With this, there's no need to worry about running out of divine flame energy. I can freely unleash my ultimate moves instead of spending them thriftily like money. Long Chen clenched his fists, his eyes blazing with excitement. In the past, when he fought with enemies, the first thing to do was to get a grasp of the circumstances to make sure every bit of energy was used properly, avoiding the case where a miscalculation resulted in him not having enough energy and being defeated. He was undefeated because he didn't dare be defeated. Just one defeat would be the end. Thus, a constant worry for him was using up all his energy. However, now he didn't need to worry about it any longer. During the next few days, Long Chen spent all his time refining and consuming pills. The Divine Whisker Flame Divine Pill had no side effects, and he could eat it like food without any negative side effects to his body. A full 10 days passed. Long Chen managed to firmly raise his cultivation base all the way to the 5th heaven stage. His 108,000 stars had 5 clumps of flames above each of them. At this level, he was no longer able to contain his aura. He had no choice but to stop. When he broke through, all the stones and trees around him were blasted apart. He spent 3 days outside just pulling in his aura until it was under control. Now he needed to consolidate his realm. Although the 9-star Hegemon body art never resulted in his foundation growing unstable, allowing him to freely raise his realm, if he couldn't actually control it, then there was no point. That would actually lower his combat power. It would create weaknesses in the middle of combat. He had to be able to control his power in order to properly use it. After advancing to the 5th heaven stage, he temporarily stopped raising his realm. He had Hua Long and the Moon and Star Refining Furnace continue refining pills. He went to see Luo Bing, Luo Ning, Mu Qingyun, Li Kai, and the others. He gave them 2 Treasure Divine Whisker Flame Spirit pills. For a high-level pill like this, even for Long Chen, refining treasure pills was very difficult. If he was lucky, then he would get 1 or 2 treasure pills every dozen furnaces of pills he refined. They were very precious. The 10,000 Divine Whisker Flame Spirit pills he had consumed were only ordinary spirit pills. Here in the immortal world, it was possible to refine pills above ordinary spirit pills. Treasure pills were above spirit pills, and contained the profundities of the heavenly Daos. Even for masters of alchemy, it required luck to refine them. When it came to low-level pills, treasure pills weren't all too rare. But for the Divine Whisker Flame Spirit pill, it was exceedingly rare for a treasure pill to appear. Their effect was tens of times greater than a spirit pill. They also contain the essence of the heavenly Daos, increasing the consumer's comprehension of them. Above treasure pills were golden pills, but those weren't sold on the marketplace. They were too rare. They were priceless commodities. As for their effect, there weren't many people who knew of them. Luo Bing, Luo Ning, and the others were around the 4th and 5th heaven stages. When they consumed one of the Treasure Divine Whisker Flame Spirit pills, the immense power made them cry out in shock. The divine flames within Luo Bing and the others' bodies shuddered 3 times. Vast divine flame energy erupted and gushed throughout their bodies. They advanced 3 heaven stages in a row. Luo Bing's original cultivation base had reached the 5th heaven stage. Now, she instantly soared to the 8th. Her expression completely changed. It had to be known that her cultivation path had always been a steady, step-by-step advancement. Every single heaven stage had to be advanced through steadily. She had never had any consecutive advancements, let alone 3 in a row. Such a rapid advancement would definitely result in her foundation growing unsteady. But she quickly realized that even after consuming the pill, the vast medicinal energy continued to circulate through her body. Her current realm was even more solid and steady than before the advancement, shocking her. Luo Ning, Mu Qingyun, Li Kai, Zhong Ling, Zhong Xiu, and the others went through similar reactions. They didn't dare to believe it. It felt like they were in a dream. This world actually had such a heaven-defying medicine? Seeing them instantly advance like this, Long Chen couldn't help being envious. For them, advancing was so simple. But for him, it was as difficult as ascending the heavens. He would probably need 10,000 pills at a minimum to advance. This should be enough for you to reach the peak of the Divine Flame realm. That way, you'll get better results during the 9 Prefecture Convention. Luo Bing, send 2 pills to Bai Shishir as well. Long Chen gave Luo Bing 2 more pills. Why not send them yourself? Asked Luo Bing with a smile. That girl is very proud. If she refuses, I'm not able to endure that awkward atmosphere. You give them to her, and if she doesn't want them, you can give them to whoever you want, said Long Chen, shrugging. Bai Shishir was extremely proud and aloof. Long Chen wasn't very comfortable around her, so he didn't want to go see her. Luo Bing and the others had advanced so quickly that they couldn't advance again for a short time. Just like Long Chen, they had to get used to their new power. Luo Ning, Mu Qingyun, and the others went into seclusion to get used to their new power. Luo Bing smiled and without saying anything further, left with the medicinal pills. As for Long Chen, he called over Bai Xiaola. He gave him 3 medicinal pills and told him to consume 1 every day. After arranging things for Bai Xiaola, Long Chen dove into the divine scripture pavilion. He consumed a huge amount of knowledge. In any case, he couldn't raise his realm any higher, and Hua Long and the moon and star refining furnace were handling the pills. The 9 prefecture conventions Dao discussion would be a gathering of old monsters proficient in all kinds of areas. Although Long Chen didn't plan on winning any impressive prize for this, he couldn't be too embarrassing. After all, it was because he had agreed to represent the Academy in the Dao discussion that he had free access to the Academy's books. He had to at least put in some effort. Furthermore, this knowledge was also useful to him. For example, in the Jialan Immortal Land, he had recognized several things that others hadn't, and was even able to state those things' origins and uses. That gave him a large sense of accomplishment. The Divine Whisker Daffodil, the Heavenly Stone Spirit Race, they were all things that he had read about in the Academy's books. Sometimes knowledge that seemed useless could become the golden key to changing his fate. With his monstrous spiritual strength, Long Chen crazily absorbed this knowledge. On the 3rd day, Luo Bing ran over in a panic. "Brother San, not good. Xiaola. He has a terrible headache and seems to have gone insane." Long Chen hastily rushed back to the Luo Gate's headquarters. Bai Xiaola was clutching his head and rolling on the ground, screaming. His eyes were scarlet as if he had been bedeviled. "Brother San, he can't seem to hear anything that I say. Touching him only makes him scream in pain," reported Mu Qingyun anxiously. "It's fine. Protect me. Don't let anyone get close." Long Chen comforted everyone and had them calm down. He walked over to Bai Xiaola's side and sat him up. Bai Xiaola screamed miserably. 3 small dots of light flowed in his eyes. It was both strange and terrifying. It was as if he had been lost in a terrifying nightmare. Ignoring his screams, Long Chen forcibly crossed his legs in the lotus position, while he himself also sat in lotus position. "What has happened to my son?" Just at this moment, a large man barged in, roaring furiously. He was the master of the Battle God Palace, Bai Xiaola's father, Bai Zhantit. Seeing his current state, he roared, "What did you do to him?" "Shut up. Your voice is making my ears ring," scolded Long Chen. "You dash." Bai Zhantang was about to curse him when space twisted, and 2 women appeared. One of them was Bai Xiaola's mother, while the other was also a beauty with a difficult-to-describe majesty. She wore a golden dress. Runes flowed around her, giving her a graceful and elegant appearance. She bore an 80% resemblance to Bai Shishir. Bai Xiaola's mother grabbed Bai Zhantit. Although she was also aggrieved at seeing Bai Xiaola's state, she said, "Don't panic. Xiaola's 3 flower pupils are erupting ahead of time. Long Chen is thinking of something." "This bastard, why didn't he say anything?" Bai Zhantang was still enraged. "What do you know? Your method of helping raise Xiaola's cultivation base did allow his cultivation base to advance, but due to his fear of you, you left behind a heart devil and made him look down on himself. If you have no ability, then don't shout and scream. Other than marrying 2 beautiful wives, you are a useless piece of trash," cursed Long Chen. He placed a hand on Bai Xiaola's back, and stars appeared behind him. "You little—" Bai Zhantang's fury soared, and he had an urge to beat Long Chen. But his 2 wives smiled. Long Chen's way of praising them was truly original. Just at this moment, Bai Xiaola's screams vanished. The 3 dots in his eyes seemed to suddenly be suppressed. Bai Zhantang stopped speaking. He was shocked. Looking at Long Chen, he saw that his eyes were pitch black. It was as if some hidden power was currently controlling the 3 flower pupils. Bai Zhantang looked towards Bai Xiaola's mother, and she merely shook her head slightly, indicating not to talk. Stars flowed out of Long Chen's palm, wrapping around Bai Xiaola's body. Long Chen slowly closed his eyes. When he once more opened them, Bai Zhantang and the others jumped in shock. "How can this be?" "You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.